the Interstellar Mecha cook. Hello again, dear adventurers of the multiverse. Thanks for joining us once more on this epic journey. Remember, this story is pure science fiction from our wild imagination, so don't go trying to summon dragons in your backyard. The rights of this amazing novel belong entirely to its original author. We are only the narrators. Do you want more adventures? Show some love to our YouTube channel with a subscription and a like, and if you want exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting for you with open arms. Chapter 576 Xiaoyang's End. After meeting Xiaoyang, Lin Miaomiao had a negative impression of him. She knew he was a shady, shadowy figure, and knew the moment she stepped forward, he would target her. However, she didn't care. Aside from missions, she stayed at the base, so even if he wanted revenge, he wouldn't have the opportunity, so she wasn't afraid. What she never expected was that desperate people tend to become frantic. She thought her words would only make Xiaoyang's mother suspicious, and that she would have to verify the facts before she could confirm them. Unfortunately, things didn't go as she expected. Just a few doubts, and Xiaoyang's mother firmly believed her daughter was murdered, not suicide. As for who else could have killed her daughter but that pretentious Xiaoyang? She immediately turned hostile, exposing Xiaoyang's illegitimate status and publicly rejecting his attempt to say goodbye to their daughter. After the ceremony, she eagerly demanded that her son investigate the cause of her daughter's death. Xiao Ran was definitely killed by him, but without evidence. Your old, muddle-headed father will definitely cover for him, so Xiao, you have to go to the hospital first. By the way, Xiao's mother squinted at Xiaoyang, who was huddled in the corner. Freeze all his bank accounts. He's just an illegitimate child. What right does he have to enjoy the treatment of a young master? Xiao had no brotherly feelings for Xiaoyang, and since his sister's death was suspicious, he agreed without hesitation. This was equivalent to convicting her before any evidence was found. Xiao simply couldn't accept such an outcome. He thought of Lin Miaomiao. If she hadn't said nonsense in public today, why would the Xia family suspect him? So, he wanted revenge. But she was Shen Yu's mecha operator, and he couldn't contact her at all after returning to the base, let alone take revenge. So he couldn't miss this day. Xiaoyang was not a normal person to begin with. The thought of being kicked out of the Xia family, becoming a poor man without money or power, and having to guard against possible revenge from Xiao's mother, made him think he might as well die. However, even if he died, he had to find someone to take the blame. And Lin Miaomiao became the scapegoat he wanted. To prevent her from escaping, Xiaoyang ignored Xiao's mother's hateful gaze, ran out of the morning hall, caught the person who had harmed him at the door of the funeral home, and simply stabbed her in the heart with a fruit knife. Although the knife missed, the excessive blood loss was not a good thing. Lin Miaomiao fainted and woke up 3 days later. She lay in the repair cabin for 2 days and 2 nights. Touching her intact chest, Lin Miaomiao sighed and said to Liu Cao, who was sitting in front of the bed and taking care of her, "You really can't meddle in other people's business. You just said a few words, and he almost lost his life," Liu Cao said with red eyes. "That's because you are too stupid and weak. When he grabbed you, why didn't you know to kick him away?" Lin Miaomiao's face was wooden. "I kicked him, but I couldn't kick him away. I didn't expect he dared to kill people in public. Not everyone has the courage to do such a thing. Although the federal government does not often impose the death penalty, killing someone still results in a life penalty. Is that person crazy? By the way, how is Xiaoyang now? Has he been sentenced for committing the crime in public?" Liu Cao grew even angrier at the mention of this. The Xia family has arranged for someone to intervene, using the excuse that Xiaoyang is mentally ill, to have him taken away and sent to a sanatorium. No way, Lin Miaomiao frantically wondered. Had the blow been taken in vain? She struggled to her feet. "No, I'm going to complain to Grandpa." She was no longer the powerless, dependent on her mother girl of her previous life. Now she had many adoring relatives, and she wouldn't bow to evil. Liu Cao glared at her and pushed her back without any gentleness. "Don't worry, it's all over. Xiaoyang was sent to the Star Prison, but you're still alive." His charge was only attempted murder. The Xia family was a bit snobbish on Shaoyin Star, but the Lin family was no pushover. Even if their roots weren't here, they had many relatives and old friends. Plus, Yi Hongwen and Ren Jiao had gotten the news, and while they couldn't get back for a while, they could easily find someone to help. Although Xiaoyang was also a member of the Xia family, he was an illegitimate child. Only Xia Jiansheng wanted to save him, so he used the Xia family to put pressure on him. To ensure smooth sailing, he even informed the Gu family in advance, asking the head of the Gu family not to interfere because of their long-standing friendship. Unfortunately, Xia Jiansheng underestimated Lin Miaomiao's family. Or rather, after learning that the victim was not from Shaoyin Star, he subconsciously assumed her family was not an obstacle. After his son was imprisoned in the Star Prison, he still believed that Gu Qingheng was responsible and rushed to the Gu family to settle the score, but in the end, he returned home in disgrace. That Xia Jianshen, I think his name has an extra character. It would be better to just call him Xia Jian, Liu Kaoyer complained. He went to the Gu family to settle the score and was humiliated. Then he found out it was the Ren family and Captain Qinglong who were responsible. Knowing your connection to them, he immediately came to apologize, bearing gifts. Lin Miaomiao frowned. That's perfectly normal. He was trying to get his son out anyway. What? This apology isn't about saving his son. It's about using it to build relationships with the Ren family and your future father-in-law. Liu Kaoyer curled her lips in disdain. He said Xia Yang's misdeeds were his own fault. Even if he's locked up in the Star Prison until he dies, he deserves it. The speed with which he changed his expression was truly astonishing. In the face of power, he didn't even care about his son, but was instead overjoyed at the opportunity to build relationships with the Ren family. In this sense, Xia Jiansheng was truly adaptable. Lin Miaomiao had nothing to say about such a father. Forget it. The Xia family's affairs had nothing to do with her. What she wanted to know now was, when can I be discharged? I think I'll have to stay for another day or two, Liu Kaoyer said. I'm fine now, why can't I be discharged? Lin Miaomiao dislikes staying in the hospital. Can I just go through the paperwork and go home now? No, it wasn't Kaoyer who answered her, but Gu Qingheng, who walked in from the door. He looked even more miserable than before. Lin Miaomiao had been lying in the recovery chamber for 2 days and 2 nights, and he had been watching outside the ward for 2 days and 2 nights. It wasn't that he didn't believe the hospital could save her, but he was overly worried. He knew that if anything happened to the person in the recovery chamber, Yi Hongwen and the Lin family would not let him go, nor would they let the Gu and Xia families go, because he was the one who brought the person there and persuaded her to help. Now that the person was rescued and the wounds were healed, he knew that Lin Miaomiao's injuries were not completely healed, especially since she had lost so much blood. Her body had been depleted and needed more blood. Lin Miaomiao was of course also aware of what Gu Qingheng knew, because she felt dizzy when she tried to stand up just now, but she really didn't want to stay in the hospital, so she insisted on being discharged. There is a medical room in the base, and I feel more at ease staying there. Chapter 577 Peach Blossoms Are Coming. Lin Miaomiao and Gu Qingheng argued for a long time about discharge, neither convinced. Just then, the attending physician, on his rounds, announced, "Since you have a medical room on your premises, leave immediately. Hospital beds are tight right now, and having an extra bed available is a good thing, but she's not fully recovered yet." Gu Qingheng disagreed. "It's just excessive blood loss," the attending physician dismissed. "She won't die. Just go back and drink some blood tonifying soup. It would also save the ward from a fight." He didn't like overly energetic patients. Lin Miaomiao was discharged as she had hoped. However, instead of walking out the door with her head held high and spitting back as she had imagined, she was humiliated by the attending physician. After returning to the base, Gu Qingheng wanted to send her to the infirmary, but she changed her mind. Why go to the infirmary if you have lost too much blood? Just drink more pig liver soup, red date tea, brown sugar water and the like, then you have to go and get a few bottles of nutrient solution, Gu Qingheng said helplessly. Just drinking soup will replenish blood very slowly. Don't worry, everyone is busy, and the fleet has encountered a big problem again. There is definitely no time for training. There is plenty of time to rest. Lin Miaomiao hugged the pillar of the base gate and started to act like a spoiled child. Infusion is not as good as food supplements. Gu Qingheng glared. Soldier Lin, this is in the base. Do you dare to disobey the order of the superior? Lin Miaomiao was silent for a few seconds, then let go of the pillar, instead hugged her head and muttered to herself, "Emma, why is my head so dizzy? I can't even hear people talking. There shouldn't be a problem with my ears." She wanted to act like a spoiled child to the end. Gu Qingheng's face instantly darkened. He had never thought that a woman like Lin Miaomiao would actually play dirty tricks, and she played them so well that he couldn't expose her. "Deputy Captain, Why don't you send her back to the dormitory? Liu Kaoyu looked at him sympathetically. Miaomiao didn't play dirty tricks very often, but no one could resist her, so that this method became her trump card, and when she encountered it, she had no choice but to give in. What's more, Lin Miaomiao was a master cook, and she must know how to replenish her blood. She could even get a few meals by the way. Liu Kaoyu had a beautiful idea, but she didn't know that a pile of work was waiting for her. Because someone was in the hospital, the deputy captain and the adjutant went on strike for 2 days, and everything fell on Yu Zixin and Zhu Chen. On the first day, the two were worried about their friend's injury, so they quickly sorted out the recruits' information, and planned the route for the second ship to pick up the people and the time required to arrive at various places. The next day, they were about to go to the captain's room to continue sorting out the materials, and then go to the logistics department to check whether all the daily necessities were complete, so that the new recruits would not arrive without enough things to distribute. Then they found out that the logistics director had run away with the boss, and the logistics assistant Sheng Ruinen had defected. And then there was nothing else. They did not have the authority to open the captain's room or the warehouse. The only thing they could do was to go to the confinement room and feed the traders on the vine with the nutritional supplements twice a day to prevent them from starving to death. Lin Miaomiao sat at the table, leisurely drinking red date chicken soup, listening absent-mindedly to Liu Kaoyu's complaints, thinking that such a life was too good to be true. In just 2 days, she had gained weight. They both sighed simultaneously, then glanced at each other and said in unison, "Why are you sighing?" After a brief stalemate, the expressionless Lin Miaomiao prevailed. Liu Kaoyu said with a bitter face, "The deputy captain asked me to take inventory of the daily necessities in the warehouse. He said Sheng Ruinen had defected, and I wonder if he'd embezzled any of the fleet's supplies. I have to count them. There's so much stuff, how long will it take to count? Can't the robots help?" Lin Miaomiao asked. Liu Kaoyu shook her head. "That would be great. He said the robots have their own things to do and don't have time to help me." Lin Miaomiao looked at her sympathetically. The robots were just an excuse. The deputy captain was clearly trying to punish Kair. But then again, why had she offended the deputy captain for no reason? Was it because she refused to go to the infirmary after returning to the fleet, and Kair spoke up for her, that the deputy captain took it personally? It had to be said that Lin Miaomiao had revealed the truth. With her direct superior taking a stab at her, Liu Kaoyu would be very busy for the rest of her life. After she finished her own moment of silence, Liu Kaoyu remembered that her friend also sighed, so she asked, "Why are you sighing again? What else can she do? Isn't it just too boring to recuperate all day?" Lin Miaomiao thought to herself, but was too embarrassed to say it out loud. Others are complaining because they are too busy, and she is also complaining because she is too idle. Isn't this just annoying? The most important thing is, if she said that she was bored, Kair would definitely ask her to help count daily necessities such as towels and wash basins, which would only make it more boring. She didn't want to say anything more, but Liu Kaoyu felt very unhappy. "Are we still good friends? I tell you when I have something on my mind, but you are troubled but you don't let me share it. This is too much." Well, Lin Miaomiao had to admit that this was indeed too much, so she had to say something, but she couldn't say it truthfully. So she rolled her eyes and soon thought of something she had forgotten for a long time. "Kair, do you know a man named Xia Hao?" "Who are you talking about?" "Xia Hao." Liu Kaoyu turned pale and denied it as if she had seen a ghost. "I don't know him." Lin Miaomiao was stunned. Judging from her reaction, it would be strange if she didn't know him. Originally, she mentioned Xia Hao just as an excuse to fool her good friend, but now, Lin Miaomiao was very interested in digging deeper into the relationship between them, so she righteously accused him. "You are lying. Judging from your reaction, you not only know Xia Hao, but you are probably very close to him. You'd better confess." The thick-skinned Liu Kaoyu blushed for the first time and stammered, "Don't guess, he and I are just ordinary friends, just like you and the deputy captain." Lin Miaomiao's eyes lit up. "Do you mean that Xia Hao has confessed to you?" Liu Kaoyu was not happy. "Miaomiao, what are you talking about? I mean we are friends, good friends, come on." Lin Miaomiao curled her lips. "If we were really just friends, would he do everything possible to find your whereabouts? By the way, he already knew you were in Shanghai, and he said he would come to you after the things at hand were resolved." "What?" Liu Kaoyu slammed the table and stood up. "How could he know? It's impossible. I didn't even tell him the real contact information. Wait, you knew the news? Could it be? Liu Kaoyer was furious. This troublesome friend must have betrayed her. However, she felt something was amiss. She had met Xiaohao on Star Online and had never told anyone about him. How did Miaomiao know about him? She racked her brains but couldn't figure out the reason. Liu Kaoyer simply asked, "How did you know Xiaohao? How did he know you knew me?" Lin Miaomiao felt guilty. Could she say that she had sent a marriage advertisement to two friends? Chapter 578. Is this what you like? Of course, she couldn't talk about the bad things she'd done, so Lin Miaomiao could only change the subject again. You and Xiaohao met on Starnet, but do you know who he was? I met him in real life, Liu Kaoyer asked subconsciously. Who is he? Where did you meet him? Of course, to show she wasn't really concerned, she kept a calm expression, as if she were simply asking what they'd have for dinner tonight. But no matter how calm she appeared, Lin Miaomiao, as her friend, could still see her nervousness. Having successfully changed the subject, Lin Miaomiao laughed triumphantly, but said sadly, he was the older brother of Deputy Captain Xiao Qingmei. In other words, I met him at Xiaoran's funeral. What? Xiaoran's brother? Liu Kaoyer's face shifted. I remember him always saying his sister was in poor health, that she'd been spoiled and willful, but his tone was always doting. Now that his sister's gone, he must be feeling terribly sad. Yes. I'm so upset I can't even speak. Lin Miaomiao nodded rapidly. In reality, her statement was exaggerated. Xiaohao was indeed heartbroken, but he was also very rational. Even when he heard her online name, he still missed Kaoyer. Perhaps Xiaoran's illness was incurable, and the doctors had already issued critical care notices several times, wearing out his family's patience. The saying a long-term sickbed makes a son unfilial was truly true. It wasn't that they were cold-blooded, but rather that the prolonged stress had already prepared them for the loss of their loved ones. Liu Kaoyer hadn't seen Xiaohao's current condition, so she worried about him being too sad. This showed that she wasn't completely without feelings for him. This puzzled Lin Miaomiao. Why would she feel that way, yet refuse to accept it? Lin Miaomiao didn't bother to dwell on the confusion. Everyone's relationship decisions were their own, just like when she'd inexplicably fallen for Yu Hongwen. Her friends weren't very supportive, but they didn't object. So, after seeing Liu Kaoyer struggling with Xiaohao, Lin Miaomiao kept quiet. Whether she cared or not was up to her, and she was the only one who could decide whether to accept it. He should be okay, Liu Kaoyer muttered vaguely, but was too embarrassed to actually ask. Come back to your senses. Lin Miaomiao stretched out his right hand and waved it in front of her eyes. Hurry up and clear the table. Since you're not ashamed to come here and eat my hospital meal, you have to work. Lin bought pie. Liu Kaoyer spat softly, without saying anything, and obediently put the dishes into the kitchen. However, she didn't continue to clean up, nor did she wash the pots. She threw the dishes into the automatic dishwasher and left them alone. After all, Lolly would be back after finishing her kitchen work. No matter how long she stayed in the fleet, no matter how long she helped in the kitchen, Lolly's master was always Lin Miaomiao. Besides her, Yu Hongwen could only order her around, not even the eldest brother of the Lin family. Lunch break was short, and Liu Kaoyer was too lazy to go back to the dormitory. She shamelessly ran into the guest room, and after lunch break, she went directly to the warehouse to take inventory. Just then, Gu Qinghang approached and asked bluntly, Miaomiao, do you want to go with Ship 2 to pick up the new recruits? Lin Miaomiao was stunned. She knew Ship 2 was leaving in 2 days, but although she looked healthy, she was still a little weak. Logically, she shouldn't be taken with her. She didn't think Gu Qinghang wanted to take her along, so she asked, puzzled, whose idea was it? I can't agree with whoever it was, but I can tell you, it has nothing to do with me, Gu Qinghang said with a faint smile. Was this a secret? Lin Miaomiao frowned, but she guessed what was going on. Gu Qinghang's expression made it clear that he didn't want to help keep the secret, but he was acting like this, which meant he had to do it. In the fleet, only the captain could give orders to the deputy captain. He wants me to go pick up the new recruits, Lin Miaomiao said, puzzled. Did he hit his head? Doesn't he know I need to rest? And he's still sending me on a mission. He doesn't know how to show any concern. Bad review. When the man returned, she would definitely kick him a few times. Gu Qinghang snorted, you're overthinking it. He's just planning to take you to the Shenyu to keep an eye on you when the second ship arrives on the same planet as him, to prevent you from accidentally getting yourself hospitalized again. The Shenyu couldn't afford to lose time, but a detour for the second ship wasn't a big deal. Captain Yu was also frightened by his girlfriend and decided to use his personal connections to bring her back to stay with him. Can I not? Lin Miaomiao asked softly. She felt it would be better for her to recuperate at the base. She was reckless in getting injured this time. If she went to see Yu Hongwen now, she would probably be punished. It would be better to wait until he returned from his mission. By then, his anger would have subsided. You don't want to go? That's none of my business. If you don't want to go, go talk to your husband. Gu Qingheng wouldn't take on this hot potato. After seeing things clearly, he no longer cared about how the couple got along, and he didn't want to interfere in their affairs because he didn't want to be bullied. Lin Miaomiao made a bitter face and looked at him with pretended resentment. I remember you confessed to me. Is this what you call love? Should one volunteer to help the beloved girl solve her problems? Gu Qingheng raised an eyebrow. I remember you have rejected me, so it is Yi Hongwen who should solve your problems instead of me. You'd better stop talking. Lin Miaomiao couldn't deny this fact, so she could only touch her nose and mutter softly, it's all your fault. If you hadn't asked me to accompany you to provoke that psychopath, I wouldn't have been hurt. You ungrateful bastard. Although she said she was muttering softly, her voice was actually only slightly lower than normal speaking, because she said it specifically for a certain deputy captain to hear, but her provocation was doomed to fail. Gu Qingheng, a generation older than her, was a calm and composed man, unfazed by a few words. After explaining his purpose, he vanished without a flicker of emotion, leaving behind only the words, "We'll depart at 8 a.m. the day after tomorrow. Remember to arrive at the waiting area early. If you're not there by then, you'll be court-martialed." Lin Miaomiao was furious. How could they possibly be so? They knew she was injured, but they didn't let her rest properly and instead lured her out. And they were all just a bunch of bad guys. Unwilling to accept this, she chased him to the door, clinging to the door frame as he waited for the elevator, shouting, "Kinkyu, are you doing this on purpose? The number 2 ship has bunk beds. How can I recuperate properly? And it's hard to even prepare a meal." "It's okay. We'll have to advance at full speed at first. We'll be reunited with the captain and his men soon. Just bear with it for a few days. As a soldier, you should be able to endure hardships," Gu Qingheng consoled him. Comforting was one thing, but helping him turn down the mission was another. So, he offered Lin Miaomiao a few words of comfort before sprinting away. "These bastards," Lin Miaomiao gritted her teeth, "don't even think about coming to my place for free meals anymore." Chapter 579. Another deputy captain arrives. The next day after her furious outburst, Lin Miaomiao ate all 3 meals early, not giving her friends a chance to eat for free. Seeing Liu Kaoyer and Yu Zixin frantically, her anger finally dissipated. When the second ship departed to pick up new recruits, she successfully transferred her annoyance onto the 2 who had eaten before. As a foodie, she knew exactly where the delicious food was, but by the time she got there, it had already been eaten. How embarrassing for them. There were still no surprises on the second ship. Lin Miaomiao entered the dormitory with resentment, then suddenly realized that due to the small number of people left at the base, she was the only female soldier on board for this new recruit pickup. Is this going to monopolize the big bunk? Looking at the large, empty dormitory, she felt no joy, but tears welled up. While she didn't want to fight for a bed with everyone, she also didn't want to be alone in the huge dormitory with no one to talk to. Thinking about it, reuniting with Yi Hongwen in a few days wasn't such a bad thing. At least there were still many good companions on the Shenyu. The food on the number 2 ship was really bad. They were only equipped with a low-level intelligent robot to cook. However, compared to the last time when they could only drink nutritional supplements to fill their stomachs, it was a big improvement. Because of her physical condition, Gu Qingheng allowed her to cook in the cafeteria before boarding the ship, but Lin Miaomiao had no intention of going. There were less than 20 people on the number 2 ship. If she cooked for herself, it would seem inappropriate not to bring them along. But bringing them along was too much trouble for her. However, she had already prepared 2 large thermos boxes of soup for herself before boarding the ship, so she could drink it whenever she wanted. At lunch, Lin Miaomiao still went to the restaurant to eat. Soup alone could not fill her stomach without rice, but to her surprise, 2 people who should not be there walked straight towards her in the restaurant. Little cook, long time no see, Li Yin said with a smile. I heard that you were stabbed by a madman a few days ago. Are you okay now? Your face is a little pale. It seems that you lost a lot of blood. You need to rest more. Yao Hong couldn't help but sigh. There is really no shortage of madmen in this world. They dare to murder people in broad daylight. Lin Miaomiao was very upset. These two people were really something. It was embarrassing enough that she was stabbed in public, and they had to mention it again and again in front of everyone. Did they think she was not embarrassed enough? But they were concerned about her health, so she couldn't be ungrateful. She could only reply politely with a dull face, I'm much better now. Thank you for your concern. In order to prevent the two from continuing to pay attention to her assassination, she immediately asked after thanking them, why are Assessor Li and Assessor Yao here? Is there another mission that requires cooperation? This sentence was actually an excuse she casually brought up to change the subject. Everyone knew that the assessment team and the fleet could not cooperate together. The last mission was just an accident. Surprisingly, after she asked the question, both Li Yin and Yao Hong laughed. Little cook, you called the wrong name. We are not part of the evaluation team anymore. No. Lin Miaomiao was confused. What do you mean? It's not that it's difficult to get into the evaluation team, and people who are in don't want to get out, unless they are fired or retired. You, neither. Li Yin denied decisively. We didn't make any mistakes, so how could we be expelled? It's just that I think it's meaningless to stay in the evaluation team. It's better to go back to the fleet and fight for a few more decades. Who knows, I can even become a general in the future. Yao Hong nodded in agreement. We are not old yet. If we work harder, there is still hope. Having said that, anyone who doesn't understand is a fool. Lin Miaomiao is not stupid, so she raised the corner of her mouth and said happily, so you are also part of our Shenyu. You didn't tell me when it happened. Such a happy event should be celebrated with an extra meal. It happened just 2 days ago. Since you were injured, we didn't want to disturb you. Yao Hong felt quite sorry. He had been obsessed with Lin Miaomiao's cooking since he had tasted it. Unfortunately, the timing of this transfer was not right. She was injured, and she couldn't still be thinking about her appetite. Li Yin also felt it was a pity. This was a good opportunity for someone to cook in a legitimate way. With the character of the little cook, she would not refuse. So it was missed in vain. You guys think too much? Lin Miaomiao was at a loss whether to laugh or cry. I haven't been feeling well these days, but I don't have to do the extra cooking. The extra cooking made by the intelligent robot is worse than not adding any extra food at all, Yao Hong muttered softly. Lin Miaomiao had sharp ears, so she naturally heard what he said, and explained helplessly, Chen Guang has hired 2 chefs to cook for the employees, and I can ask them for help. Let's put it this way, after the new recruits are taken back to the base, I will arrange for them to make a good meal for everyone. Welcome you and the new companions. Li Yin and Yao Hong didn't know the relationship between Chen Guang and her, and thought it was too much trouble, so they refused. Don't bother, let's talk about it after you get better. Several old soldiers who were eavesdropping at the next table couldn't pretend anymore, and came over with shameless faces. Deputy Captain Li, don't be in a hurry to refuse. The chefs hired by the little cook are all skilled. It would be a pity to refuse. The brothers are all counting on this meal. The little cook hired him. Li Yin looked at the old soldiers in surprise. What do you mean? Is Chen Guang her family's property? The old soldiers nodded hurriedly. It's not only her family's property, but also her dowry. Lin Miaomiao couldn't stand it any longer. She looked up and glared at them fiercely. Who said it was a dowry? It's mine. It will still be mine after we get married. It's not a dowry. The veterans were dumbfounded. Isn't it almost the same? After getting married, the little cook is already the boss. Is there any need to divide it so clearly? But no one dared to say this out loud. After all, they have been together for a year and they still know a thing or two about Lin Miaomiao's personality. Lin Miaomiao didn't know what the veterans were complaining about in their hearts. Seeing that they had nothing to say, she nodded with satisfaction. Okay, the extra meal is settled. I will notify them to prepare some delicious dishes and send them to the base. After getting the answer they wanted, the veterans went back to eat contentedly. Li Yin and Yao Hong looked at each other and laughed. It turns out that the little cook is a rich woman. Deputy Captain Li, you are joking. She just has a small club given by her father. How can she be called a rich woman? Lin Miaomiao is very humble. One must keep a low profile. Only then did she understand why Li Yanhu had chosen Shen Yu. The position of head of the evaluation team seemed promising, but it offered no further advancement. Being Shen Yu's deputy captain, even if he couldn't become a regular, would earn him merit and a promotion. With significant achievements, he could even become a major general. It was just that Shen Yu was unlucky. Both the captain and the two deputy captains were airborne, leaving a psychological scar on the veterans. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 580 Vice Captain Li's Thoughts. After silently shedding a tear of sympathy for the veterans, Lin Miaomiao quickly accepted the fleet's arrival of a new lieutenant. To her, having more lieutenants wasn't a big deal. She had no ambitions to be one anyway. She was just puzzled. Why hadn't Li been transferred here earlier or later, only after the traitor had been found on Shen Yu? Could he have been sent by the military to seize power, to replace Yi Hongwen as captain? Lin Miaomiao's suspicious gaze flickered over Li Yanhu, forcing him to smile wryly. Little cook, you don't have to look at me like that. It was the captain and Lieutenant Gu who ordered us to come now. The traitor in the base hasn't been dealt with yet, and the captain is still on duty. There has to be a leader to take on the new recruits. This explanation made sense, and after some thought, Lin Miaomiao decided to accept it. Whether she accepted it or not, it wasn't something she could control, so she simply speculated about it without delving into it. Of course, she wouldn't admit her suspicions. What's so good about being a captain? You have to worry about this and that every day and carry countless responsibilities. It's better to be a soldier who obeys orders. Of course, the prerequisite is to have a clear-headed leader. Deputy Captain Li misunderstood. I just think that I'm sorry for you going on a mission right after you joined the fleet, Lin Miaomiao said sincerely. After all, receiving new recruits is just a small task. If Captain Liu and the others were at the base, you wouldn't have to do anything. How could that be? Receiving new recruits is a big event for every fleet. It's my honor to be involved, Li Yanhu continued to smile. And I like to be busy. This way I won't feel useless. Lin Miaomiao didn't want to continue with such a serious topic, so she picked up her bowl and suggested seriously, the food is getting cold. I think we should eat. Li Yanhu was silent. Wasn't the topic changed too quickly? He could hardly keep up with the pace, but his personality was destined not to embarrass others, so he could only say, it's time to eat. It tastes bad if it's cold. The three of them finished their lunch in silence. Lin Miaomiao wiped her mouth and prepared to go back to her room to rest without even saying hello, but Li Yanhu smiled and called her, it's not good for your health to rest right after eating. Why don't you sit down and chat for a while? Lin Miaomiao felt a sense of unease as she stared at his seemingly harmless smile, so she flatly declined, no thanks. I didn't sleep well last night, so I want to go to bed early, mainly because they weren't familiar with each other. She felt there wasn't much to talk about, so she might as well go back to bed and avoid the awkwardness of sitting here. Li Yanhu didn't insist, then you should get some rest early, and don't sleep too much, or you won't be able to sleep at night. Lin Miaomiao nodded casually in agreement, turned around and strode out of the restaurant, muttering to herself as she walked, it was so awkward to be giving these instructions when they weren't familiar with each other. She didn't know why, but she always felt that Li Yanhu's seemingly gentle face was a little off, as if it was different from Gu Qingheng's gentleness, as if he was wearing a mask. Since she didn't detect any malicious intent from Li Yanhu, she wasn't too worried. What she didn't know was that after she left, the hearty smile on Yao Hong's face disappeared. He looked around and found that few people were eating in the restaurant, so he whispered, Yanhu, you are too polite to this woman. She is just relying on Yi Hongwen's power to speak to you like this. Li Yanhu frowned, don't talk nonsense, she is not rude to me. She is Yi Hongwen's woman and is very familiar with the senior leaders of the fleet. It is inevitable that she speaks casually. Yao Hong curled his lips and said disdainfully, Yi Hongwen is not that good either. In my opinion, the traitor in Shen Yu this time is simply due to his mismanagement. He should be replaced. Old Zhao, Li Yanhu shouted to stop him from continuing, I told you a long time ago that I came to Shen Yu on my own initiative. Captain Yi is a very capable person. I am ashamed of myself, so I never thought of replacing him, but, no buts, I know he won't exclude or suppress me because of my ability. That's enough, Li Yin smiled sincerely. Coming to Shanghai wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision, nor was it wishful thinking. Ye Hongwen had extended an olive branch back on Energy Star. If it weren't for Captain Z's unexpected passing, leaving him temporarily tied to his duties as captain, he would have already applied for a transfer to Shanghai. Although Shanghai is small now, the atmosphere is excellent. The team members get along like family. We'll be very happy working in a fleet like this, Li Yin said. He was speaking to Yao Hong. After all, he cared about him, and he couldn't let his brother feel disappointed. What's so good about it? There are so many traitors, Yao Hong was puzzled. Shen Yu only had a little over 200 people, and yet there were a dozen or so traitors? They must have been like thieves. I think you chose the wrong place. Such a shabby fleet, it's impossible to make it big, so many problems have occurred after just a little progress. When development accelerates, won't it be the same again? Li Yin shook his head helplessly. Old Zhao, why can't you understand? If Shen Yu has no potential for growth, why are so many people so impatient to suppress them? When a fleet stands out, other fleets become anxious, fearing they will surpass them, and will seek to suppress them. Annual recruitment is extremely important for each fleet. If Shen Yu has problems recruiting this year, the news will spread quickly throughout the Federation, and Shen Yu will be unable to recruit new soldiers for the next recruitment season. Soldiers are the foundation of a fleet. Without new recruits, a fleet's future growth will be limited. After all, no large fleet has only a few hundred people. As for the traitors, most of the veteran members of Shen Yu were a mixed bag, and with the careful bribery of various parties, it was not surprising to see a dozen or so. The plot has failed, and the next ones to suffer will only be those with ulterior motives, Li Yin asserted. Alright, Yao Hong reluctantly admitted. He didn't genuinely think Ye Hongwen was incompetent, but rather felt sorry for Li Yin. He was clearly a capable man, yet he was always marginalized in the old fleet. He worked hard to join the evaluation team, but was still outshined. After finally rising to become team leader, he requested a transfer to Shenyu, where he was forced to work under a young man. Okay, I know you think I'm wronged, but I'm not, Li Yin said with a faint smile. Being a team leader in the evaluation team, with only so many people under your command, is nowhere near as comfortable as being in Shenyu. The evaluation team itself was divided into a dozen or so teams, each with no more than 10 people, including the team leader. Being a team leader like that wasn't very rewarding. No matter how unwilling Yao Hong was, he had to admit that the deputy captain was better than the team leader. Chapter 581. A small punishment but a big warning. Shaoyin Star is located in the center of the Federation's 5-star regions. Logically, this location is quite advantageous, but unfortunately, it presents a challenge when it comes to recruiting. Regardless of the fleet, visiting all the military academies in the Federation requires a significant amount of detours. For example, if the Shen Yu were to pick up new recruits, their first stop could be any of the 4-star regions, East, South, West, or North. Only the Jiayin Star region, where Shaoyin Star resides, would be their final stop, making Miluoland's 2nd military academy the final stop. However, the route they took was irrelevant to Lin Miaomiao. After 3 days of travel, the 2nd fleet had already reached Yimin Star, where the Shen Yu was stationed, and handed her over to the eagerly awaited Ye Hongwen. Yimin Star was garrisoned by the Lifang fleet. According to the Shen Yu's schedule, they were supposed to deliver the uniforms to Lifang in the morning, receive a reception at noon, and then depart for the next fleet after lunch. However, to pick up Lin Miaomiao, the Shen Yu delayed their trip to Lifang, stopping for several hours at a public boarding ship on Yimin Star, finally successfully picking her up at 11:30. It was too late to go to Lifang at this time. Shen Jiayu had already prepared lunch. Ye Hongwen decided to take a break after lunch and go to Lifang at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There were not many people on the number 2 ship, and their schedule was not tight. Ye Hongwen simply asked them to stay for dinner together, and then sent some people from the Shen Yu to pick up new recruits, so that the other fleets would not look down on them because of the lack of veterans. After lunch, Lin Miaomiao was taken to the captain's dormitory, pressed on the bed and spanked. Why did you hit me? Lin Miaomiao was ashamed and angry. Ye Hongwen looked at her coldly and said, You are really amazing. You have been away from me for more than a month, and you have injured yourself. It's not my fault. I was just going to attend Xiaoran's farewell ceremony. Who knew that psychopath would dare to commit violence in broad daylight? Lin Miaomiao felt wronged. Then why didn't he kill anyone else, but you? Oh, maybe he took the wrong medicine when he went out. Lin Miaomiao felt guilty. It was because she was too righteous. She had exposed someone's evil intentions in public, and that person, who had something to hide, was angry and embarrassed. But it was better not to say these things out loud, otherwise she couldn't guarantee that she wouldn't be beaten again. Being beaten was nothing, but being beaten in such an embarrassing place would be too embarrassing. But what she didn't expect was that the thing she wanted to hide had already been exposed, and it was Gu Qingheng who brought her there who complained. She was injured, and she had lost too much blood and lay in the repair cabin for 2 days and 2 nights, but Gu Qingheng was extremely worried. During the video call with Yi Hongwen, he was so calm that he rarely lost his composure and recounted everything that happened in the morning hall in detail. So, Yi Hongwen actually knew what was going on, but he refused to say it, wanting to see if someone had the courage to confess. It turned out that the cook was incredibly daring. Since she was trying to conceal the truth and get away with it, Captain Yi, who knew the truth, was furious and spanked her again without mercy. The most frustrating thing was, this time it was through her pants. Pa pa pa. After a few crisp slaps, Lin Miaomiao was stunned. Why are you hitting me again? I've already punished you. Her expression remained expressionless, but tears of grievance welled up in her eyes. This was domestic violence, and it would not be tolerated. I want to go back to ship 2. I want to go with them to pick up the new recruits. I don't want to stay here, Lin Miaomiao grumbled. I'm injured, and you're still hitting me, and he did it in such a shameful way. I don't know where he learned this. It was truly evil. Of course, Lin Miaomiao didn't really want to go back to ship 2. She didn't like the bunk beds, and she was quite interested in the uniform delivery mission. She said this just to get someone to admit their mistake and apologize. Unfortunately, her plan didn't work. Because Yi Hongwen said, the first time was to punish you for stepping forward regardless of the danger, and the second time was to punish you for avoiding the important issues and trying to hide the reason for your injury with lies. How do you know? Lin Miaomiao's eyes widened instantly, and her tears disappeared, as if she had only put on eye drops to keep them moist. As soon as she asked this question, she knew she had made a fool of herself. Besides her, only Gu Qingheng knew what happened that day. She didn't say it, so it was obvious who leaked the secret. It must be King Q. He is such an unkind person. I was dragged there by him, and he betrayed me even though I was injured. Lin Miaomiao was filled with righteous indignation. If someone stood in front of her now, she would probably punch him. But it doesn't matter. A gentleman's revenge is never too late. She can think of a way to take revenge first, a good way to make herself calm down, and then she can just do it when she gets back. Just when she was thinking about how to deal with this snitch after returning, Yi Hongwen said coldly, "Are you cursing me in your heart? Or are you thinking about how to deal with Gu Qingheng?" Lin Miaomiao was very honest. "I have already scolded you just now, and now I am thinking of ways to deal with him. Do you think it is better to pour boiling water on him, or should I ask Kabir to help put him in a sack and beat him up?" Yi Hongwen thought about it and felt that the latter was better. Pouring boiling water will disfigure him, and what should I do then to pay for the medical expenses? It's better to put him in a sack and beat him, hitting those places that hurt but are not easily injured. I will do it myself after we go back. You actually support my revenge. Lin Miaomiao couldn't believe her ears. Didn't he inform on you, and you still want to beat him? Yi Hongwen sneered. He took you there, and he also provoked the people who hurt you. How can I not beat him up? Even if she confessed, no one stipulated that he would be lenient. Although Miaomiao was injured this time, she deserved it, but if Gu Qingheng hadn't insisted on taking her there, she wouldn't have been injured at all. The most important thing is that he actually took advantage of Miaomiao's unconsciousness to complain and revealed all the good things Miaomiao had done. This is simply naked betrayal. Therefore, beating him once is not enough, he should be beaten several times. Poor Gu Qingheng. He originally took the initiative to admit his fault based on the idea of leniency for confession, but he did not expect that someone was so shameless and wanted to pin the crime on his head in various ways. Lin Miaomiao, who wanted to go back to find her friends to help beat people up, hesitated. In fact, it was because she was too impulsive that she pushed people to the edge of the cliff and forced Xiaoyang to lose her mind, so that she stabbed her in broad daylight. It had nothing to do with Gu Qingheng. It seemed a bit unkind to beat him up a few times. Forget it, since you want to do it yourself, I won't argue with you, Lin Miaomiao said generously. After all, they have been friends for several years and they can't be ruined by a fight. Yi Hongwen raised his eyebrows. Okay, leave it to me. Next, I think we should continue to settle the accounts. Still settling accounts? Haven't we already settled them? Lin Miaomiao was horrified. She stood up and jumped out of bed to run away, but was dragged back. Chapter 582. The captain is too shameless. Lin Miaomiao was chagrined. She knew she had brought this injury upon herself and had been prepared for Yi Hongwen's punishment. But she hadn't expected the punishment to continue. She was furious. She wasn't a minor. Wasn't this punishment a deliberate slap in the face? Yi Hongwen, let go. Stop hitting me. Otherwise, what will you do? Yi Hongwen asked calmly. Why don't you finish? Was he planning to refuse a toast and then face punishment? Lin Miaomiao was furious. She had made a mistake, but everyone makes mistakes. From another perspective, this incident could be seen as a lesson. With this experience, she would definitely think twice before encountering such a situation again. So, this injury wasn't entirely a bad thing. At least she felt she had benefited greatly from it. And since her injury hadn't healed yet, the punishment should have stopped. But Yi Hongwen always had a limit to his punishments. He wouldn't stop until he achieved his goal. Even if Lin Miaomiao was angry afterward, that was a matter for the future. She didn't want to continue this humiliating punishment, so she had to find a way to interrupt it. The method was simple. She simply used all her strength to turn around, then pounced on the attacker and bit him hard on the neck. While the bite wouldn't draw blood, it certainly left a clear mark. Military uniforms don't have high collars, and Captain Yi going to Lifeng with this bite mark on his neck would be utterly humiliating. I don't know when you learned how to bite, Yi Hongwen said, both annoyed and amused. He pulled out a small healing device from his space button and tried to repair the bite mark. He had business to attend to this afternoon, and the bite mark on his neck was too conspicuous. He might even be accused of not taking the gift of the military uniform seriously, so the mark had to be removed. Lin Miaomiao, however, refused to give up. She pounced again, snatched the healing device, and threw it into her own space button, saying triumphantly, "You can go out with this bite mark on your neck. Let's see who's more embarrassed. Take it out," Yi Hongwen said calmly. "If I don't give it to you, I'll let you hit me there," Lin Miaomiao snorted. "You embarrass me, and you won't have an easy life either." Of course, she wasn't really so cruel as to let him embarrass himself in front of the Lifeng fleet. There were treatment devices in the ship's infirmary, so he could just go there to get repaired. At most, Dr. Ji would laugh at him a few times and spread the gossip. Lin Miaomiao tidied her clothes, covered her mouth and yawned, then rolled to the inside of the bed, shook out the quilt and fell asleep. "I'll rest for a while. You go find Dr. Ji, no hurry." Yi Hongwen unbuttoned his clothes slowly. "Anyway, it's just a small wound. It doesn't matter if it's not treated. I'd better accompany you for lunch." "Accompany me for lunch?" Lin Miaomiao had a bad premonition, and rolled around a few times in a hurry, wrapping herself in the quilt like a silkworm. "I like to sleep alone. No need to trouble you." Unfortunately, it was too late. Captain Yi had already taken off his white military shirt, pounced on her, and regardless of Lin Miaomiao's struggle, he peeled off the quilt in 2 or 3 strokes and pulled her out. He said seriously, "Military uniform is the face of a soldier. How can you rest without changing clothes? Since you don't want to do it, then I will help you. Let me go." Lin Miaomiao struggled violently to get free, but sadly found that even after so many years of training, she was still no match for Yi Hongwen in strength. Men are naturally stronger than women, and Yi Hongwen is more than 10 years older than her and has been exercising since he was a child. Her strength is no match for him. After struggling for a long time without any results, she simply gave up and let the shameless guy on her help her change clothes. Of course, she didn't put on pajamas after taking off her military uniform because someone got angry and executed her on the spot. An hour later, Yi Hongwen contentedly carried her to the bathroom to take a shower. During that time, he took advantage of her countless times. After he was satisfied, he helped her put on pajamas and sent her back to bed to rest. After eating and drinking, Captain Yi saw that it was already 1:30, so he went out to the infirmary to find Dr. Ji to remove the teeth marks on his neck. If he hadn't had to go to Lifeng to deliver the military uniform later, he would not have bothered to remove the marks. As for Lin Miaomiao, she was first punished and then eaten up. Even if she was angry, She couldn't resist the fatigue and fell asleep quickly after lying on the bed. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the Shen Yu set sail for the Lifeng base. Yi Hongwen also woke up the sleeping Lin Miaomiao. "It's time to get off the ship, I still want to sleep." Lin Miaomiao angrily picked up the pillow and threw it at him. "Why don't you just go down?" "Stop it." Yi Hongwen put the pillow back in its place. "You are also a member of Shen Yu. How can you hide on the ship and slack off? Don't forget that I am a wounded soldier. The doctor said I need to rest." "What if I get tired?" Lin Miaomiao said righteously. Yi Hongwen was helpless. "There's no cooking on board at noon, and there's no food in the dining hall. You're going to starve if you don't come down with me." "That's okay. I can make it myself. I'm a good cook anyway, and it's definitely better than what Lifeng Canteen makes." "No, you can't be tired right now," Yi Hongwen said, pulling the girl into his arms and stripping her pajamas, ready to help her change clothes himself. He actually enjoyed helping, and he could even take advantage of her in the process. Lin Miaomiao couldn't resist, so she could only glare at him angrily. "You know I can't be tired, right? Who is that beast who just put his mouth on me?" He quickly helped the girl in his arms put on her military short jacket, and Yi Hongwen replied calmly, "I remember you started it. I was just responding to your invitation." Lin Miaomiao was speechless. After all, she had started it first, even though she was just trying to retaliate against someone's punishment. Captain Yi was getting thicker and thicker skinned, and he had even learned to lie with his eyes open. No matter how reluctant she was, she followed Yi Hongwen to the warehouse. Since they were delivering uniforms, they naturally had to bring them off the ship. However, such a solemn and sacred task couldn't be handled using space buttons. The space would have to be handled by the other team members. There were two reasons for not using space buttons. First, after putting the clothes in, they would be conspicuous leaving empty-handed, and Liu Feng didn't need to entertain the Shen Yu soldiers who hadn't taken anything. Second, space buttons were valuable items. If they were to carry the uniforms, they would be wasted forever. Shen Yu was a very poor fleet. They had to deliver uniforms to 99 fleets. Giving each one a space button would be a huge loss. A meal wouldn't cover the cost of a space button, anyone could figure that out. This mission involved delivering uniforms, and naturally, it was closely tied to Logistics Director Wu Xin. So, at that moment, he was wiping his sweat as he led a few idiot robots to sort the uniforms, preparing the quantities Liu Feng had just handed over. Chapter 583, Prank. Why are they getting ready now? Shouldn't they have been ready sooner? Lin Miaomiao wondered. Ren Jiaojio, standing next to her, idly toying with her hair, replied nonchalantly, "The order was delivered after the warships landed, so of course we're getting ready now." Lin Miaomiao was taken aback. Shouldn't they have sent the quantities sooner? Why wait until they've arrived? They're just adding to the chaos. Who knows what the captain is up to? They're pulling this trick, trying to intimidate us. Ren Jiaojio chuckled dismissively. Since they can do it, let's just wait and see. Ren Jiaojio wasn't the only one thinking this. The others, too, were in no rush, so they each found a corner to squat and wait. As for why they didn't find a place to sit, it was obvious. How could a soldier indulge in pleasure? The logistics chief was busy, so how could they afford to sit and enjoy themselves? Lin Miaomiao felt a pang of frustration. She was still exhausted. Half an hour wasn't enough to replenish her lost energy. Add to that a burning sensation from the initial punishment, and she felt unwell. She couldn't squat, because squatting was more uncomfortable than standing, but standing made her legs weak. This kind of waiting was simply torture, so she couldn't help but glare at the culprit standing in the front again and again. After being stared at with murderous intent for so long, Yi Hongwen certainly felt it. He turned his head expressionlessly and glanced at a certain cook, with an unmistakable smile in his eyes. Lin Miaomiao gritted her teeth. Who was responsible for her becoming like this? He was actually gloating over her misfortune. If she had known earlier, she should have followed a second ship to pick up the new recruits instead of staying here to be bullied. This wait lasted until 3:30. The captain of Lifeng came up and urged them several times. The welcoming team had been outside in the sun for an hour and a half, and they were dizzy and about to have heat stroke. Liu Feng's captain, Wang Xiaoguang, said, "The sun is too strong outside, and some of us can't stand it anymore. Captain Yi, can you guys hurry up?" Yi Hongwen was very calm. "The military uniforms handed over to us by the military are all numbered. Of course, we have to count them carefully. It would be bad if we gave too much or too little. Wang Xiaoguang was furious. But this speed is too slow. It's been an hour and a half. Can we go faster? It's better to be careful. Yi Hongwen looked at him seriously. The current speed is fast enough. If we follow the practice we did a few days ago, the required quantity for each number should be counted 10 times before we can confirm that it is correct. Time is tight today, so I only let him count it 5 times. 5 times? Then how many times is this? Probably the 3rd time. Wang Xiaoguang's eyes went dark. It took an hour and a half to count the 3rd time. There are still 2 more times. How long will it take? 5 times is still too much? I think 3 times is enough. Why don't we start the handover after this one is done? Wang Xiaoguang suggested dryly. No, Yi Hongwen flatly refused. Our logistics chief is in charge of the inventory. I asked him to count 5 times, and he argued with me for a long time. If I ask him to count less, I'm afraid he'll get angry. As if in response, Wu Xin, who had just finished the 3rd count, shouted, Captain, I think 5 counts is too few. It's simply not enough to guarantee an accurate count. Let's count 10 times. Wang Xiaoguang's face instantly turned ashen. He was so stupid. He had listened to others' instigation to embarrass Shen Yu's people. Now, he had gotten himself into trouble. What's with the 5 or 10 times required for confirmation? That's a lie. It's obvious that they were going to be punished. At this point, he could only pray that Captain Yi beside him would stick to his own opinion. He didn't want to wait another few hours. Fortunately, Yi Hongwen didn't want to offend anyone too much, and rejected Wu Xin's request in a cold voice. 5 times, no more. The situation this time is special. Even if 1 or 2 sets are missing, I believe Captain Wang won't mind. Wang Xiaoguang was about to cry. Wasn't it obvious that there had to be fewer sets? Wouldn't he be at a huge loss? Captain Yi, this is not good. Military uniforms represent the face of soldiers, and the inventory is counted. If a few sets are missing, how am I going to explain it then? Then there's no way. How about letting him count a few more times until the number is correct? Such a proposal would naturally not be adopted. Thinking of those team members who were sunburned, Wang Xiaoguang gritted his teeth and admitted, okay, as long as the number is not too small, I can still make it up. Oh, Yi Hongwen asked casually, then I wonder how many sets it will be. Okay. Wang Xiaoguang was thinking about this, and he replied casually, as long as it's not more than 10 sets, there will be no problem. After he finished speaking, he realized that something was wrong. How could he say his bottom line? Isn't this obviously giving people an opportunity to trick him? Just as he was about to retort, Liu Yifei, who was standing behind them, started yelling. Did you hear that, Wu Xin? You must count carefully. Don't leave too many missing. If more than 10 sets are missing, you're done. Stop making so much noise. You can trust me, Wu Xin assured him, patting his chest. After all, I've been the director of the logistics department for a year. The error in counting will definitely not exceed 10. Wang Xiaoguang's eyes went dark. He could already foresee the ending. Another hour passed, and Wu Xin finally announced with satisfaction that it was over. Wang Xiaoguang breathed a sigh of relief. He had received a text message from the deputy ship saying that several female soldiers had fainted from the sun. It was already June, and the afternoon sun was very hot. Most of the training was usually conducted indoors. How could the female soldiers who had just joined the fleet for a year withstand being exposed to the sun for several hours? Since it's all ready, I'll go down first and let everyone prepare for the handover, Wang Xiaoguang said as he got off the ship anxiously. After he left, Yi Hongwen said slowly, Captain Wang is really too anxious. Even if he had counted them, he wouldn't have been so fast. He also had to organize them into trays, and then distribute them according to different code numbers and distribute them to each team member. This was also a big project. Half an hour later, Wang Xiaoguang rushed in again, his face as dark as the bottom of a pot, and he asked with gritted teeth, Captain Yi, how long are you going to dawdle? The sun is about to set, and you are still not ready. Almost, Yi Hongwen said calmly, we are ready and about to set off. All the members of Shen Yu lined up with their trays, waiting for the captain's order to set off. Wang Xiaoguang exhaled and smiled bitterly, sorry, I was too excited just now. A few female soldiers fainted from the sun. Wow, the female soldiers in your fleet are too delicate, Liu Yifei blurted out. They fainted after just 2 or 3 hours of sun exposure. Yifei, shut up, Luo Cheng scolded, even if it's the truth, you can't say it out loud. What will Captain Wang think? He'll think you're deliberately embarrassing him. Wang Xiaoguang. Chapter 584, The Lingering Ghost. After a busy afternoon, Wu Xin and several robots finally finished counting the clothes, placing them on trays and distributing them to everyone. By this point, Wang Xiaoguang had completely lost his temper. Forget about being difficult, as long as they were willing to disembark, he'd be happy. Yi Hongwen, leading a mighty procession of over 100 people, disembarked. The Lifang crew waiting below were sunburned, sweating profusely, their eyes blazing with rage, as if they were ready to devour them alive. Captain Yi, welcome to Lifang. I hope you enjoy your evening here, Wang Xiaoguang said with a beaming smile. Although he'd been on and off the Shenyu several times, he still had to say the necessary politeness to avoid being harassed again. After all, he knew all too well how difficult the Shenyu crew could be. For example, when counting the uniforms just now, he'd actually counted them 5 times before he'd even stopped. Even more shamelessly, even with a bunch of soldiers squatting in the corner watching, they refused to help, claiming the logistics chief was used to doing things himself. Even the robots were just helping to move things. Thousands of uniforms, divided into different sizes, would it be time-consuming for one person to count them 5 times? Yi Hongwen didn't care what he was thinking in his heart, and nodded coldly. Your base looks good, better than Longjia's. Wang Xiaoguang frowned. This can't be compared at all. Longjia has only just been upgraded to a formal fleet. No matter how good its base is, it's limited. I'm afraid it can't even compare to Shenyu's original base. Comparing it with their Lifang is just a slap in the face, right? He wanted to refute a few words, but gave up and shut up. It was getting late, so he should finish the handover and eat early. After dinner, he could send the plague out away. Having made up his mind, Wang Xiaoguang pretended he hadn't heard the previous remark and said with a broad smile, it's almost dinner time. Let's make a quick end of this and prepare for the handover. Yeah, Yi Hongwen said, unconcerned. He'd already wasted quite a bit of time playing tricks on someone, and Miaomiao's glare was practically piercing him. Better finish dinner and return to the ship. Captain Wang, reassured, breathed a sigh of relief and gestured for the crew members behind him to take the trays. At first, everything went smoothly. The Lifang crew members took their trays one by one and returned to their formation, taking no time at all. However, when they reached the second row, a pretty female soldier from the Lifang crew didn't follow their order to take the trays. Instead, she ran straight to the middle of Shen Yu's second row and stood in front of Lin Miaomiao. Old classmate, long time no see. I didn't expect you to still look so silly, the pretty female soldier said with a bright smile, but the underlying hostility was so obvious that it was hard to ignore. Lin Miaomiao had been standing so straight, her eyes fixed on her nose, barely noticing the person in front of her. Hearing the other person's ill intentions, she looked up, her expression instantly turning as cold as Captain Yi's. It's you, Lin Miaomiao said displeasedly. I didn't expect to see you here. Is this a sign of your lingering presence? The bright smile on the beautiful soldier's face froze. She'd known she'd be disliked before she'd challenged him. But she hadn't expected the other person to be so disrespectful, not even offering a polite word. It was humiliating. But she was the one who spoke first, so of course she refused to take the things and turned away in shame. She pursed her lips and said, we have been classmates for 4 years. Don't you even want to give me a good face? Lin Miaomiao frowned and answered her seriously, I'm sorry, it's not that I don't want to be nice to you. It's just that I have been like this since I was a child, and I can't change it. You are going too far. As long as you are willing, can't you change your attitude? The beautiful female soldier refused to accept such an explanation and insisted that she admit her mistake. Always entangled in such boring questions, Lin Miaomiao really didn't want to talk to her, so she casually said, Zhu Painting, you said you have been classmates for 4 years. Can't you understand my difficulties? Or are you deliberately using this to cause trouble? It turned out that this beautiful female soldier was Zhu Painting, who had troubled Lin Miaomiao many times. She just wanted to stay away from such a classmate, and of course she would not be polite. Zhu Pingting's face paled when her intentions were exposed. She glanced back cautiously, noticing Wang Xiaoguang's gloomy expression. Her heart sank, and her desire to cause trouble faded considerably. She was also adaptable, and when things didn't go as she'd imagined, she immediately changed the subject. Miaomiao, Don't be angry. I was just joking. After all, we haven't seen each other in so long, and I've missed you." This was half-truth, a joke, of course, but Lin Miaomiao's words were the truth. Zhu Pingting's constant pursuit of revenge was undeniable, though she couldn't quite place what it was. Lin Miaomiao was in a foul mood. Normally, she would have gone along with Zhu Pingting's words to avoid making things awkward, but she was so tired that she didn't have the energy to say much, so she opted for a straightforward approach. "I'm not familiar with you, there's no need to joke around. You'd better stop scaring people here. I really don't like people who linger around." Zhu Pingting was so angry that she was shaking all over. She had already humbled herself so much, but the other party still spoke ill of her. Did he think she was easy to bully? The anger in her head was surging, and the consequence of the anger was that she completely forgot where she was and what she should do. She raised her voice and yelled, "Lin Miaomiao, don't think you are so great. I don't even want to see you." Okay, Lin Miaomiao said calmly, "then turn around and go back. Anyway, you were just cutting in line, you." Zhu Pingting was furious and was about to explode again, but was stopped by a loud scolding. "Zhu Pingting, I asked you to hand over your uniforms to the comrades from Shenyu, not to start a fight. Are you refusing to obey orders?" It was Wang Xiaoguang who reprimanded her. Captain Wang had already been annoyed when she'd gone to the middle of the second platoon out of turn, but he'd kept quiet when she'd called the Shenyu team members old classmates. Seeing friends was a rare occasion, so a few words wasn't a big deal. But he hadn't expected these two to be friends, but enemies, the kind that sparked instant ire. They'd been arguing fiercely without a word. Remembering the revenge Shenyu's men had unleashed today, Wang Xiaoguang felt particularly irritated and unwilling to confront them again, so he spoke up to stop Zhu Pingting. Zhu Pingting wasn't one to turn back until she hit a wall. Realizing she couldn't gain the upper hand, she prepared to retreat. Of course, she'd brought a tray of uniforms with her as she retreated, but perhaps she'd used too much force and the tray tipped over. Chapter 585 Self-Inflicted Trouble. "Oh my god, you're disrespecting the uniform," Liu Yifei exclaimed. "The uniform represents the soldier's dignity. You threw it on the ground. Doesn't that mean you're shameless?" Lin Miaomiao was embarrassed. This accusation was quite serious. Fortunately, the tray wasn't flipped in her hands, otherwise she would have been the shameless one. Zhu Pingting's face turned pale and blue after being called shameless. She didn't know whether to apologize or fight back, so she stood there speechless. Seeing that she had nothing to say, Liu Yifei became even more arrogant. In 2 or 3 steps, he rushed to the fallen uniform, bent down to pick up the tray, holding it firmly with one hand, and used the other to pick up the scattered uniforms, still not forgetting to put pressure on her. "Why are you so stubborn? You don't even repent after doing something wrong. You're just standing there watching the show. You have no manners at all. You're unworthy of being a soldier." Lin Miaomiao slowly squatted down to help, casually expressing her opinion. "This tray isn't heavy. I've been holding it for so long and haven't knocked over my clothes. I didn't expect." She stopped there, but the unspoken words still managed to infuriate Zhu Pingting. "Lin Miaomiao, don't be so smug. Do you think having a captain boyfriend is so great? I'm telling you, in my eyes, you're nothing but a villain." This statement successfully caught everyone's attention, but no one cared who was villain. The Shenyu team glared at Zhu Pingting fiercely. They might not stick together internally, but they were fiercely protective of their own. If anyone bullied one of their teammates, they would definitely not let her go. The Liu Feng team, on the other hand, was simply curious. It was incredible that Ye Hongwen became captain at such a young age. Who could be worthy of such a young, level 6 Mecha Division captain? As for Zhu Pingting, she had only been at Lifang for a short time, so she couldn't expect anyone to stand up for her. The people of Shenyu tortured Zhu Pingting with their eyes for a while, but when they realized it had no effect, they started talking. "Zhu Pingting, Miaomiao has been with her captain for such a long time, and you are still jealous." Yun Yan shook her head. "With such a narrow-minded personality like you, it's no wonder that the boss looks down on you." Ren Jiao said disapprovingly. Yan, you are wrong to say that. Doesn't she also have a boyfriend who is a captain? The captain of Fengjia. What's his name? Oh, I have forgotten his name. I remember, Xiao Zero said, it's Captain He Xingming. Although he is a little older, he is very good to Pingting. As an old classmate, as long as she likes him, I can only wish her the best. Zhu Pingting's eyes hardened and she clenched her fists subconsciously. After Liu Fang was disbanded by Fenjia, she broke up with He Xingming. No one knew about this after joining Liu Fang, and she also had a new goal. But now the old things were brought up again. She didn't dare to imagine how the other party would react to if he knew. She wanted to look back, but was afraid of being met with the other person's wrath. In her panic, she hated Xiao Zir. If that person hadn't revealed her secret in public, no one in Liu Fang would have known about her past, and she would have become a leader again. Although the man hadn't accepted her yet, Zhu Pingting knew that he had been moved. Otherwise, he wouldn't have deliberately made things difficult for Shen Yu on this mission. She was almost successful. Just giving her another month would be enough, but everything fell apart at the last moment. Zir, Zhu Pingting pretended to be calm, but her voice was trembling, and her fists were clenched white. I don't understand why you want to wrongly accuse me like this. We are classmates. Why do you want to take my Miaomiao's side? I take sides. Xiao Zir was stunned. She raised her right hand and pointed her index finger at her nose from bottom to top. How could I not know? Zhu Pingting straightened her back. She couldn't admit defeat now. As long as she refused to admit it, these people would be teaming up to deceive her old classmate. So she pursed her lips and said seriously, because you are good friends with Lin Miaomiao, and she doesn't like me, so you helped to throw dirty water on me. You are really good at talking. You almost made the dead come alive. Lin Miaomiao was helpless. You thought that no one would believe you if you refused to admit it, but don't forget that Fenjia has been disbanded, and Fenjia's comrades are still alive. As long as they are willing, it is not difficult to find out about your past. That's right, Ren Jiao smiled smugly. No matter how you try to hide it, there are some things you can't hide once you've done them. For example, you ordered Captain He to interfere with our mission, and you almost caused a war between Fenjia and Shen Yu. In the end, Captain He compensated us with several million credit points out of guilt. You're talking nonsense. That has nothing to do with me. Zhu Pingting truly regretted it. She hadn't intended to jump out, but for some reason, she couldn't help but jump out when she saw Lin Miaomiao's expressionless face. Even someone as hypocritical as Lin Miaomiao could be liked by Yi Hongwen, so why couldn't she? On what basis? But it was useless to regret it now. She only hoped that her gentleness and consideration during this period would win the man's favor and make him think he was being wronged. So she looked back with tears in her eyes, and then she was stunned. Because the person she wanted to confuse was chatting politely with Yi Hongwen, not even glancing at her, as if she was just an insignificant person. The uniforms were picked up, the dust brushed off the packaging, as if they hadn't fallen to the ground. However, Liu Yifei, holding the tray, didn't hand it to Zhu Pingting. Instead, he gave it back to Lin Miaomiao with a grin. Captain Wang, Liu Yifei called out to Captain Liu Feng, who was chatting cheerfully with Yi Hongwen. Your female team member's hands are a bit unsteady. It's best not to trouble her with it. Wang Xiaoguang waved his hand casually. Hey, Zhu Pingting, right? Since you're not feeling well, go back to the dormitory and rest. With a casual remark, he dismissed Zhu Pingting. He wasn't truly so calm. In fact, what he wanted most right now was to slap her twice, but he could only think about it. With so many people here, he couldn't act rashly, as he didn't want to embarrass himself. Zhu Pingting's heart sank. She knew all her plans would be in vain, today. Worst of all, she didn't know what punishment awaited her next. Wang Xiaoguang was never a kind person. Captain, I was really careless just now. I won't do it again. Give me another chance. She wanted to make a final effort to see if she could recover from the defeat. But Wang Xiaoguang refused to give her a chance. Go back. Don't force yourself if you don't feel well. I'm not a bad captain who doesn't know right from wrong. In order to show his seriousness, Wang Xiaoguang casually pointed to two team members who were still empty-handed. You guys see her off, so that she won't faint on the road. The two Liu Fang team members were about to have the honor of handing over their uniforms, but now they missed the opportunity. They didn't dare to blame the captain, so they put all the blame on Zhu Pingting. They stepped forward and held her and walked directly to the exit of the boarding platform. Chapter 586, Drinking and Carrying Away. After Zhu Pingting was dragged away, the handover resumed. This time, no one interrupted, and the process was quickly concluded. Wang Xiaoguang finally let go of the tension in his heart. Captain Yi, dinner is ready in the mess hall. Now that everything's been handed over, shall we head to the restaurant? Yes, Yi Hongwen replied calmly. Captain Wang led the way. Lin Wang's base was also quite large, but still not as vast as Shen Yu's. Therefore, their buildings were more densely packed, neatly arranged one after another. The buildings were all of the same standard, 100-story rectangular block. These regular buildings were cheaper to build than oddly shaped ones, and most small and medium-sized fleets used them. Accustomed to their own base, the Shen Yu people felt a surge of pride. Our base is still the best, Lin Miaomiao muttered softly. Of course, Yun Yan said proudly. Our fleet's base ranks among the top 10 among the 100 fleets in the Federation. It's not that the bases of the more powerful fleets can compare to Shen Yu's, but most of them are quite old, their buildings bearing a sense of history. They certainly can't compare to Shen Yu's, which was only a few years old. Major fleets love to boast about their longevity, and even if they had the military budget to renovate their bases, they wouldn't undertake it, believing it would incur the envy and resentment of other fleets, given their established status. Shen Yu's current base was acquired in exchange for Rongzhou. As for why the Rongzhou fleet built a new base, it was because during the Federation Civil War a few years ago, terrorists bombed their base into ruins. During that civil unrest, many of the Rongzhou's crew members died in the explosion. After the military quelled the conflict, Captain Rongzhou cried for 3 days and 3 nights in the captain-in-chief's office, ultimately returning home with an unfinished garden. With a few minor renovations, it became a magnificent and beautiful base. Later, this beautiful base became Shen Yu's property. Because of this, many captains of the fleet disliked Yi Hongwen. Some, unable to get their grapes, even said, trading a planet for a base, even if it's large and beautiful, is a loss. Captain Yi is still too young. Yi Hongwen ignored this. While the Federation's population wasn't as large as the Empire's, it still numbered over 1 billion. Even if he cared, there was nothing he could do. He couldn't just kill them. After passing several identical buildings, Wang Xiaoguang finally led them to the Lilifang cafeteria, located on the first floor of their men's dormitory. Because the Shen Yu team members were guests, they didn't eat in the main dining room, but in the smaller dining room at the back. There were a dozen round tables, each seating 15 people. Lin Miaomiao took a quick look and saw that 11 of them were set with dishes. Yi Hongwen and several team leaders were seated at the center table. Wang Xiaoguang and other Lilifang officers accompanied them, and the Shen Yu team members also freely formed their groups to the tables. The food hadn't arrived yet, leaving only apple cider vinegar and herbal tea on the table. A Lilifang team leader, with all the grace of a host, poured herbal tea for the main table. Wang Xiaoguang picked up his cup and was about to clink glasses for good measure when he thought of what had just happened. He turned around and looked for a table. His eyes fixed on Lin Miaomiao, who was sipping apple cider vinegar. Captain Yi, Wang Xiaoguang said with a smile, there's still room. Why don't you call your girlfriend over to eat with us? Not your girlfriend, but your fiancée, Yi Hongwen corrected him earnestly, then declined the suggestion. She doesn't like serious socializing. Let her join the teammates. Wang Xiaoguang's mouth twitched. He'd expected to be rejected, but he'd assumed the reason would be something like not following the rules. He hadn't expected such a casual answer. The food began to arrive, and Lin Miaomiao immediately embraced the 1-liter bottle of apple cider vinegar and drank it with relish. This was her favorite drink, and she couldn't stop. The cup was too small, so she simply drank directly from the bottle. Yun Yan quipped, Miaomiao, why do you like vinegar so much? Isn't Captain Yi's vinegar enough for you? Nonsense, Lin Miaomiao said with a deadpan expression. I don't like vinegar at all. You're already drinking from the bottle, how can you say you don't like it? Yun Yan smacked her lips. I remember you have apple cider vinegar in your space button. Ren Jiao nodded in agreement. Yes, it's the kind we're drinking on the table, Zhang Yang brand. I don't understand. This brand seems to be a mid-range apple cider vinegar, not the best. Why did she insist on this one? You don't understand. Lin Miaomiao shook the glass bottle in her hand. This brand isn't too sour. It has a strong apple flavor, almost like juice. Another reason was that in addition to the juice, Yi's mother also sent a large amount of fruit vinegar, all Zhang Yang brand. Bai Jin was so used to it that she didn't bother to buy it herself. It's not too sour, Bai Jin said, puzzled. Why did she think it was sour? Weren't they drinking the same kind of apple cider vinegar? To clarify her doubts, she snatched the bottle from Lin Miaomiao's hand and poured herself half a cup. Holding the cup, she took a careful sip, and then her face twisted. Qian, there's so much apple cider vinegar, why did you snatch it from me? Lin Miaomiao wondered. Is the brand I have different? Bai Jin gave a fake smile and pressed the bottle back into her hand. Give it back to you. Lin Miaomiao looked at the half-missed bottle of apple cider vinegar with a look of distress. Qian, you're such a jerk. There are so many bottles on the table, and you had to snatch mine. Didn't you just want to see if yours tasted better? Bai Jin muttered inwardly, but her action was indeed a bit inappropriate, so she lowered her head and pretended it didn't happen. Well, you said there was so much, and no one wanted to drink it. You can drink as much as you want. Yun Yan tried to smooth things over. Lin Miaomiao looked around and saw that everyone was indeed drinking herbal tea. She was the only one at the table drinking apple cider vinegar. Puzzled but pleased, aren't you going to drink all this apple cider vinegar? No, everyone shook their heads. The rest is mine, Lin Miaomiao said, unceremoniously gathering the bottles of apple cider vinegar on the table in front of her. Yun Yan's eyes widened. There were still 7 or 8 bottles of apple cider vinegar, all weighing 1 kilogram. Could Miaomiao possibly drink them all? The answer, of course, was no. She had already stored the remaining apple cider vinegar in her space button. Besides the half bottle in her hand, there was no apple cider vinegar left on the table. Renjiao held her forehead with her hand. Miaomiao, are you still short of these bottles of apple cider vinegar? Yes, Lin Miaomiao said seriously. I'm away from the base this month, so Mama Yi didn't send any apple cider vinegar, and I forgot to buy it from Star Network. It's been out of stock for days. Okay, Renjiao said helplessly. I hope the people at Lifang didn't notice a few bottles were missing. It's not a good habit to carry around unfinished goods. Lin Miaomiao pretended not to understand with a blank expression. As she gathered the apple cider vinegar, she paid attention to the main table to make sure the people at Lifang didn't see her move. With over 10 people at the table, even if a few bottles were missing after dinner, they wouldn't have guessed it was her fault. After all, she had a cool and detached face. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 587, Helping You Raise Your Baby. Renjiao could only force a smile and pretend she didn't care when her future sister-in-law did something shameful. But Yi Hongwen, who had accidentally noticed, frowned. He looked at the untouched apple cider vinegar on the table and said, You guys don't drink apple cider vinegar, do you? The dishes had already arrived, and Wang Xiaoguang was helping everyone eat. Hearing this, he casually remarked, We're all grown men. How could we possibly like something sour and sweet like this? Oh, I'll take it away then, Yi Hongwen said calmly, putting the apple cider vinegar away. Everyone at the table looked at him sideways. Captain Wang said men didn't like it, and yet Captain Yi put it away. Wasn't this a bit strange? Liu Yifei, always quick-witted, immediately asked, Boss, when did you start liking vinegar? Luo Chang, who was sitting next to him, reached out and hit him hard on the head. Idiot, it's the little cook who likes it. Why can't you think differently? Liu Yifei glared at him. Boss had never packed up like this before. He just didn't realize it immediately. Did he need to hide and scold him like that? Wang Xiaoguang smiled and said, Captain Yi is really a rare good man in the entire Federation. That female soldier is so lucky, it's the boss who is lucky, Liu Yifei muttered softly. She has entered the ranks of a 4th-level mecha division at the age of 20. She is beautiful and can cook a lot of delicious food. If her temper is better, she will be a model of a good wife. Yi Hongwen nodded. She is very good, and it is right to spoil her. However, one of the deputy captains Liu Guang said, Don't spoil her too much. Women are weak and they will easily become arrogant once they are spoiled. Seeing his experienced look, it seemed that he had learned a big lesson. Luo Cheng asked with great interest, Does Lieutenant Captain Lu have any experience to share? No, Lieutenant Captain Lu laughed dryly. I was just saying it casually, Wang Xiaoguang jokingly said. Old Lu, that's wrong. Did you say that your little one has become a bitch? Lieutenant Captain Lu's face fell drastically, and he clasped his hands together and begged for mercy. Captain, you can't say that. It will kill me. After all, he was his right-hand man, and Wang Xiaoguang didn't want to hurt him. He smiled and changed the subject. The dishes are all here. Let's eat quickly. Our fleet chefs are quite skilled, even without anyone to persuade them. Lin Miaomiao's table started a fierce fight for the food. The Lifang fleet's dinner was beautifully presented, and regardless of the taste, it caught their attention. Unfortunately, the dishes were indeed delicious, but the portion seemed a little small. Especially for a group of foodies, such a small amount was not enough to fill their stomachs. To fill their stomachs, they had to eat. Swish, swish, swish. After a flurry of images, everyone's small bowls and plates had piled up like a mountain, while the plates on the turntable were pristine, leaving only 3 large plates of plump, white steamed buns. I think Lifang is too stingy. Such a large plate, but only a third of it filled with food. There's not enough for so many of us, Lin Yin complained as she ate. The food in front of her was the heaviest, showing how agile she was in grabbing it. But her eating speed wasn't slow either. After just a few bites, half of her small bowl was gone. Forget it, the food tastes good. Having so much is good. Haven't you seen how the food in big restaurants barely covers the bottom of the plate? Ren Jiao ate in small, graceful bites, but the food in her bowl was disappearing at a visible rate. Lin Miaomiao protested, "Sister-in-law, how can you generalize? The dishes in our restaurant are very generous." Ren Jiao giggled twice and admitted her mistake very straightforwardly. "Don't get me wrong, the restaurant I'm talking about certainly does not include the one you opened. That's more like it." Lin Miaomiao nodded with satisfaction. "The dishes here are very small. It seems I have to eat 2 steamed buns to fill my stomach. It's impossible to eat all you can." Not every captain of the fleet is as generous as her boss. Xiao Zir grabbed a steamed bun and took a bite. Her little face wrinkled immediately. "It's actually sugar-free. It's not delicious at all." Not only was it not served with rice, but the steamed buns were all original. Captain Lifang was too stingy. Could it be that he was a stingy person who would save money whenever possible and gave a bad review? Wang Xiaoguang, who was enthusiastically trying to persuade guests, began to sneeze constantly. Since the steamed buns were plain, none of the female soldiers at the table liked them very much. In the end, they just finished the dishes and only ate half of the 3 plates of steamed buns. After eating, everyone touched their stomachs in unison and said, "We're not full." Yun Yan pouted and said, "That's too much? We've been working hard for the whole afternoon, and you didn't even give us enough to eat. Don't you welcome us to deliver the uniforms?" Lin Miaomiao looked at the steamed buns. There were 15 people at the table, and she was the only one who ate 2 steamed buns, filling her stomach. The others were probably only 6/10 full. Her sister-in-law probably ate the least and refused to eat a single steamed bun. "Sister-in-law, you should eat a steamed bun. If you don't eat enough now, what will you do if you are hungry at night?" Lin Miaomiao advised. "In fact, the original steamed bun tastes good. It is better than nutritional supplements." Ren Jiao waved her hand. "It doesn't matter, I'm used to it. It's okay to eat less at night. Sleeping doesn't consume much energy anyway. Eating more will make you fat. Just think of it as losing weight." "Where are you fat?" Lin Miaomiao pinched her arm disapprovingly. "Look, it's a bit hard to pinch. It's better to eat more to gain some meat. It will be much more comfortable to hug her." Yun Yan frowned. "Whether she is comfortable or not to hug her seems to have nothing to do with you. She is not for you to hug." "Nonsense." Lin Miaomiao rolled her eyes at her and said righteously, "How can it have nothing to do with me? She is my sister-in-law. I'm doing this for my brother." "Oh, so it's for your brother's sake." Everyone at the table laughed slyly. "The little cook is really a good sister. She really knows how to fight for benefits for her brother." "Miaomiao, shut up," Ren Jiao said angrily. "Don't forget that you are thinner than me. I think you should gain some weight, otherwise the boss will not feel good when holding you." "What if you return it?" Lin Miaomiao blinked. Was her sister-in-law worried that she would not be able to get married and stay in the Lin family as an old maid? So she kindly comforted her. "Don't worry, sister-in-law, even if I can't get married, I won't eat you and your brother out of money. Besides, I have eaten a lot, so there's nothing I can do if I can't gain weight." Ren Jiao was completely speechless. What else could she say? Should she say that she was not worried about her sister-in-law not being able to get married, or that the family had enough food to eat? It seemed that something was wrong no matter what she said. It seemed that she hadn't married into the Lin family yet, so she didn't have to worry so much. After figuring it out, Ren Jiao curled her lips. "I don't care whether you can get married or not. Anyway, you are richer than your brother." and you can support yourself no matter what. Lin Miaomiao nodded hurriedly. That's right, I will definitely not let my brother support you. I can also help you raise the baby. Ren Jiao was embarrassed. Can we not talk about such long-term things? Chapter 588, All Poor Fleets. After dinner, everyone lined up and followed the captain out of the restaurant, leaving only tables filled with empty plates. Wang Xiaoguang and Yi Hongwen, walking side by side in front, didn't see it, but the other officers of Lifeng were stunned. Except for the table where the officers were sitting, the other 10 tables were empty. Deputy Captain Lu muttered to himself, they ate so cleanly that there wasn't even much soup left. I wonder if the people of Shenyu don't have enough to eat normally. The dishes were gone, the white and plum steamed buns were gone, the herbal tea was gone, and the apple cider vinegar was still gone. The most speechless thing was that the bottles of drinks were gone, which made him think of a possibility. Could it be that they packed up and left with what they couldn't finish? That's too petty. This was really possible. After all, the captain of Shenyu had taken away several bottles of apple cider vinegar. Fortunately, his voice wasn't loud enough for the Shenyu crew to hear, otherwise they would have accused him of slander. What's with all that petty talk? It's clearly about being frugal and not wasting food, right? Of course, no one heard, so they obediently lined up and headed for the dock. During the day, they would have had a chance to tour the Liufeng base, but at night, it was impossible. It was pitch black everywhere, and there wasn't much to see. Before boarding the ship, Wang Xiaoguang said to Yi Hongwen with a smile, Captain Yi, it's getting late. I think you should rest here for the night. When daybreak comes, I'll show you around our Liufeng base. Don't bother, Yi Hongwen said coldly. There's nothing here but houses and people. There's not even a puddle or a few trees. I don't see why it's worth visiting. Wang Xiaoguang's face darkened. What a fool Yi Hongwen was. He was talking nonsense. Even if their base wasn't very scenic, there was no need to be so clear. Could he be more polite? Never mind. Young people are immature. He's decades older than them, and he shouldn't bother with someone so clueless about the ways of the world. It would be embarrassing. After some self-consolation, Wang Xiaoguang put on a smile again. I know Captain Yi doesn't like the scenery here, but I can take you to see the team members training. It would be nice for everyone to exchange and learn from each other. That was quite a statement. Even if Shenyu was developing, there weren't many mid-level mecha operators, let alone level 6 ones. If they really wanted to learn from each other, they would only get beaten. They'd been humiliated today. If they could get back at each other tomorrow, Captain Wang wouldn't mind hosting them for the night. Logically, the uniform delivery mission had plenty of time, so a delay of a day or two wouldn't be a problem. Even if Yi Hongwen could see through his covert provocation, he probably wouldn't refuse, because the captain's dignity was inviolable. Yi Hongwen, however, cared little for these matters. To him, face was less important than credit points, so he bluntly declined. We have 2 fleets to visit tomorrow. We're pressed for time, so we don't have time to stay and fight. You should just have fun on your own. You're the one playing, your whole family is. They'd agreed to observe training and learn from each other, but how come it tasted so different after Bingshen's mouth? Wang Xiaoguang was so angry that he didn't want to talk anymore. Young people these days are so hard to communicate with. No, it should be said that Bingshen is too difficult to deal with. It's better to send him away as soon as possible. Since Captain Yi is determined to leave, I can't try to persuade him to stay. I just hope that the friendship between Lifeng and Chenyu can be maintained. You're welcome to come and play next time. Finally, on behalf of all the Lifeng team members, I wish you a safe journey. Suppressing his temper and saying goodbye, Wang Xiaoguang felt that he was on the road to becoming a saint. If it were any other captain, he would have walked away after being repeatedly bullied. How could you be like him? Thankfully, Yi Hongwen didn't resort to harsh words this time, instead politely saying, Thank you, Captain Wang, for your hospitality. We'll come again if we have the chance. With that, Captain Yi turned and headed for the boarding ladder, followed closely by the Shenyu crew. They looked truly well-trained, with none of the unruly behavior seen when fighting over food in the mess hall. It was a shame that no one at Liufeng could appreciate their presence. They were simply standing there to see them off at the captain's command, and their farewell was like sending off the plague. Only after watching the Shenyu crew board the ship, the hatches close, and the 2 warships slowly leave the landing platform did Wang Xiaoguang's face finally light up with relief. Finally, they're leaving. I hope we never have to have Shen Yu's crew come to our place again, lest we be unsure how to entertain our distinguished guests, Wang Xiaoguang prayed heartily. Deputy Captain Lu was a little worried. Isn't our fleet chef's cooking skills too good? What if they get on their nerves and start visiting every now and then? That would be bad. Wang Xiaoguang was stunned. No way, our base is quite far from theirs, it's only 2 or 3 days, Deputy Captain Lu said, still worried. Shen Yu was so poor that they couldn't even afford to eat, so how could they miss out on a good opportunity to beg for money? Of course, the Shen Yu team members were unaware of the conversation between the Liu Feng captain and deputy captain. At that moment, they were gathered in the lounge to discuss the situation at the Liu Feng base. Liu Feng is so pitiful, Bai Jin said, look at their houses, they are all exactly the same and built very densely. There are few flowers and trees, no lawns or ponds, and you can't find any scenery at all. It's just that the place is small, and not every fleet is as powerful as our Shanyu, Yu Hongbo said with a grin. So, Liu Feng is not necessarily richer than us. It may be a poor place, everyone knew that this was just a joke. Liu Feng's base seemed to be inferior to theirs, but in fact, whether it was the inventory of instruments, mechas, or mecha parts, Liu Feng had several times more than them. How could it be poor? Actually, the dishes tonight were quite delicious, Yun Yan said as if savoring the taste. It's a pity that the portions were too small. We were finished before we were full. That's right, everyone agreed with the statement, but they still added, it's just not as good as the little cook's cooking skills. It's just barely enough to fill the gaps between our teeth. After all, it's because we're poor and don't have that many good things to entertain the guests. Lin Miaomiao rolled her eyes ungracefully. If it's delicious, it's delicious. There's no need to hide it. I'm not a god. How could I think my cooking skills are unparalleled? Everyone laughed awkwardly. Only Yun Yan said with a grin, I knew Miaomiao wasn't a stingy person. No matter how delicious Liu Feng's chef's cooking is, Miaomiao's cooking is not bad either. The most important thing is that there are many dishes and the portions are sufficient. That's right, Ren Jiao supported her sister-in-law. Although the food today is delicious, the dishes are all the same. They are all roast duck, steamed fish, braised pork and the like that we've eaten many times. It's just that the portions are small that people can't eat enough. This made so much sense that no one could refute it, and everyone fell silent. Let's go back to our rooms and rest early, Lin Miaomiao suggested vaguely. Chapter 589, Another Rebellion. The uniform delivery process remained the same, with 2 fleets visiting each day for the following days. Lin Miaomiao's participation had become somewhat tedious after a few attempts. What frustrated her most was that, aside from the meal at Liu Feng, the food served by the other fleets was bland, the taste of something cooked by ordinary household robots. Lin Miaomiao didn't want to participate, but all mecha pilots were required to participate in this mission. Anyone aboard the ship was required to participate, out of respect for the uniforms. She couldn't understand why such strict regulations were necessary for simply delivering uniforms without them being worn. She could only ponder this question in her mind, unable to voice it out loud. The Federation placed great importance on the significance of uniforms, treating their delivery as a significant undertaking. Thank goodness there aren't that many fleets anymore, Lin Miaomiao muttered to herself. She visited 2 fleets a day, and in the previous month or so, she had already completed 67 missions, those she hadn't participated in. Adding in the 10 fleets she had visited in the past 5 days, they were already nearly halfway through their mission, and they would be able to return to their base in at most 2 weeks. But she was still frustrated, wondering if there was a way to stay aboard. Unable to come up with an answer, she secretly asked her future sister-in-law, Ren Jiao, for advice. Don't want to participate? Then ask for leave, Ren Jiao said flatly. Lin Miaomiao was frustrated. The problem was that she had no reason to ask for leave. It was already difficult to get leave in the fleet, let alone when she had important work to do. Surprisingly, Ren Jiao didn't even think carefully before answering, if you're sick, you don't have to participate. Why would you even need that excuse? Admittedly, being sick was a good excuse for leave. Lin Miaomiao felt unlucky, but she still considered how to make herself sick. But before she could ponder it for long, they arrived at the next fleet, White Tiger's Aoshi, their target for the afternoon. The announcement bell rang, and Lin Miaomiao climbed out of bed, changed into her military uniform, and rushed to the warehouse. By then, everyone had gathered, and she quietly walked into the second row of the team. Seeing her approach, Lin Yin whispered, "Why are you even later than me today?" "Not really," Lin Miaomiao feigned innocence. "I'm not late." The official assembly time was still a few minutes away, but she didn't consider herself late, just a little later than usual. The fleet's arrival time was estimated and announced in advance. The assembly bell was just a precaution in case anyone forgot. Lin Miaomiao had usually arrived at the warehouse early, accompanying Yi Hongwen, but today, he had something to do and didn't take a nap, so she didn't have her automatic alarm clock. Combined with her restless thoughts from her nap, she had forgotten to get up on time. Thankfully, she was quick and didn't arrive late, Lin Miaomiao thought gratefully. The warship suddenly tilted 45 degrees, and everyone stood firmly in their positions, legs slightly apart. The ship was about to land. On previous missions, when the Shenyu landed, everyone would strap themselves into the lounge, safe from danger, but this time, everyone was accustomed to standing in the warehouse, relying on their own balance. Lin Miaomiao joined midway through. She was initially unsure and suffered a minor setback, falling and rolling on the ground twice. Later, she mastered the art of standing upright, simply spread her legs slightly apart and keep her feet firmly planted on the floor. A few minutes later, the warship landed safely. Yi Hongwen and several team leaders appeared in the warehouse. They usually arrived early, but today, for unknown reasons, they arrived late. Team members, Yi Hongwen said, expressionless, standing at the front of the group. "We have arrived at Beihu's proud fleet, but they've encountered a problem. We need to wait a little longer on board until it's resolved before we can begin our mission. However, we can't sit and rest. We need to prepare in advance, as we could disembark and begin our mission at any moment." Yi Hongwen finished his words without further explanation. He simply nodded to Wu Xin, who was standing behind the group, and then turned and left the warehouse. Everyone was a little bewildered. Why did the captain just say so few words and then run away? The captain needs to disembark for some business. Just follow Minister Wu's instructions and take the assigned trays, Wen Zixi soothed softly. Wu Xin, with a robot, began distributing trays of military uniforms. Everyone took them, but stood there waiting. This wait lasted over 2 hours, making everyone at Shenyu anxious. Yi Hongwen still hadn't returned, and there was no notice to disembark. "What's going on?" Wu Xin asked Liu Yifei, frowning. He was also growing impatient. Standing at attention in the warehouse all the time was boring. "I don't know," Liu Yifei scratched his head. The boss hadn't explained clearly when he disembarked. "It seems there's civil unrest in Aoshi." "Civil unrest?" Wu Xin gaped. "Is there a fight going on? Why didn't the boss send us down to check? What if we're affected? It's not civil unrest, it's a traitor." Just after lunch, the captain of Aoshi was assassinated. His fate remains unknown. When Zixi checked the time on the communicator. After so much time, the truth should be clear. Lin Miaomiao, lost in thought while holding a tray, was suddenly startled. It wasn't just Shenyu that had been traitored, Aoshi had also suffered. Most tragically, their captain had been stabbed. Who is responsible? A captain from another fleet, or a spy from the Empire? Aoshi was ranked in the top 20 in the Federation, a large fleet, but its ranking didn't fluctuate much, so it shouldn't be blocking the other fleet's path. Damn, we're so unlucky to have to deal with this. Now I don't know when we'll be able to complete the handover. I don't want to spend the night here, Liu Yifei said, feeling so depressed that he wanted to bang his head against the wall. Who says it isn't? Wu Xin agreed. We haven't even dealt with a rebellion in our fleet yet, and now we're involved in Aoshi's rebellion. It's just bad luck. Logically, Aoshi's rebellion shouldn't have anything to do with Shenyu. After all, they had a mission to complete and didn't have the time or reason to meddle. But it just so happened that they arrived on their mission just as the captain was being treated in the infirmary. Even out of moral obligation, Yi Hongwen should have gone there to wait for news. Besides, with the captain being treated, the lieutenants were surely busy apprehending the traitor. So they wouldn't have the time to stop the team members from handing over their uniforms. Lin Miaomiao, her thoughts fading, couldn't help but ask, "It's been over 10 days. Lieutenant Gu hasn't dealt with the traitor yet." She hadn't contacted Liu Kaoyer and the others since leaving the base, so she didn't know how the rebellion was handled. She only knew that Sheng Runan and the others were tied up by Chang Twing for several days, and that the group apprehended in the conference room were expelled from the military and kicked out of the fleet. As for Zhang Keek, She was bribed by the Imperial spies and sent directly to the military's independent interrogation room. Her ending will definitely not be good. Chapter 590, Rescue Ineffective. At 4:15 p.m., Yi Hongwen finally returned to the ship. Instead of heading back to the warehouse, he went to the captain's quarters, where he was met with the news that called for everyone to disband. Captain Aoshi was stabbed in the heart with a fruit knife. Because he was discovered too late, he passed away despite medical treatment, when Zixi said, his tone heavy. Dead, Liu Yifei gaped. That means Aoshi is in chaos now, and we don't know when we can complete our mission. When Zixi wasn't worried about that. Aoshi is in such a state of chaos today, they definitely don't have the energy to complete the mission. We should do it tomorrow when things calm down. He was worried about something else. The death of a captain of that rank will be reported and prosecuted. Captains from other fleets will be attending, and our mission might have to be suspended. Uh-oh, no. Doesn't that mean we'll have to delay our return to the fleet? Luo Chang's face fell instantly. Life aboard the ship couldn't compare to the leisurely days back at base. He really missed his soft Simmons bed. If you missed me, you can buy a ticket and put it in your space button, Lin Miaomiao suggested earnestly, then asked, Captain Wen, since the boss's order has come out, can we disband now? When Zixi was lamenting the impermanence of life, and being asked this question out of the blue was a bit confusing. However, he wasn't the type to wallow in depression, so he quickly shook off his sadness and replied, it's time to go, everyone go back and rest. While standing all afternoon wasn't tiring, holding the tray with both hands was difficult. Lin Miaomiao was annoyed that since Aoshi was in trouble and clearly had no time to deal with them, was there any need for them to stand around in the warehouse like idiots? They might as well go to the training room for a run and some sit-ups. After all, these captains still wanted to discipline them. Bad guy Yi Hongwen, you'd better not go back to your room to sleep tonight, Lin Miaomiao muttered softly, mentally resolving to make him sleep on the floor. To her surprise, Yi Hongwen didn't return to the dormitory that night. He texted her at 9 o'clock sharp, asking her to go to bed early. I have some matters to attend to offboard. Since I'm here, I have to help with Captain Lu's funeral. Having attended several funerals, Lin Miaomiao knew that what he meant by help wasn't actually doing anything for Aoshi, but rather just talking to the deceased in the morning hall. Of course, given Yi Hongwen's temperament, he wouldn't initiate any conversations. The actual conversations were with Aoshi's lieutenants. He was just a background presence, there to keep the peace. Aoshi's lieutenants weren't inexperienced rookies, but after all, their immediate superior had died, and they needed someone to hold the fort. The traitor who stabbed the captain hadn't been apprehended, and he hadn't let go. Lin Miaomiao didn't dwell on it. She didn't know the deceased, so she couldn't feign grief. Knowing Yi Hongwen wouldn't be back that night, she went to bed and slept soundly until dawn. After waking up in the morning and running tens of thousands of meters in the training room as usual, they went to the dining hall for breakfast. Ren Jiao and Lin Xianhao were also there. Brother, you've finally decided to step away from your nail job, Lin Miaomiao pouted. We're on the same battleship. And I've never seen you leave. You're like a coward, what are you talking about, little girl? Lin Xianhao nearly spat out his porridge. I've told you so many times to respect your brother, but look at your attitude. Lin Miaomiao rolled her eyes at him. You clearly don't deserve respect like this. The brother and sister were arguing when Yi Hongwen suddenly arrived with breakfast. His face showed no signs of fatigue, only the bloodshot eyes that betrayed a sleepless night. Boss, you're back, Liu Yifei, who had been lingering in the corner, waved excitedly toward the door. Come over here, there's room. Yi Hongwen glanced at him disdainfully and, without a word, walked over to sit down next to Cook. Liu Yifei was furious. Boss, how could you do this? You can't spoil a woman too much? Don't forget the famous saying, brothers are like limbs, women are like clothes. Shut up. Yi Hongwen's tone was as cold as ice. If you don't want to eat, get out of the restaurant. The plate was still full, so Liu Yifei wouldn't leave, so he tactfully shut up. After breakfast, Lin Miaomiao asked about the day's arrangements. Can the handover of military uniforms be completed this morning? It's not going to work if we keep putting it off. Don't worry, Yi Hongwen said without a hint of nervousness. They have to set up the scene for the chase this morning, so they probably won't have time for the handover. It should be done in the afternoon, so can we rest this morning? Yes, everyone has the morning off. If you don't have anything to do, You can go off the ship and have some fun. Just don't cause any trouble for Aoshi and everything will be fine." Lin Miaomiao's eyes lit up. The repetitive talk she'd been saying these past few days had really suffocated her. She looked at Renjiao happily. "Sister-in-law, let's go out and have fun together later." "Wait," Yi Hongwen frowned. "You have to accompany me to the funeral home later. We have to see him off." "No." Lin Miaomiao was furious. She had just attended Xiaoran's farewell ceremony a while ago and didn't want to attend another memorial service so soon. "Protests are useless," Yi Hongwen said bluntly. "If you don't want me to be bothered, you can choose not to go. Being bothered, action is worse than thought." She immediately turned to discuss with Yunyan. "Come with us later. In case someone tries to flirt with Captain Yi regardless of the occasion, you can help me." Yunyan was quite happy to do so, but she didn't know if she could go, so she was a little embarrassed. "I'm not from Aoshi. Can I enter the morning hall?" "It's okay. There will be no access control there. Anyone who is in the Aoshi base can go," Yi Hongwen said casually. "It's a farewell to Captain Luo. The more people who see him off, the better." Yunyan felt relieved with his words. "Then I'll go with Miaomiao. If we meet anyone shameless, we'll beat him up." The veins on Yi Hongwen's forehead jumped. He wondered if his excuse was too bad. The morning hall was a serious occasion. It would be bad if there was a lot of chaos. Chapter 591, Trouble at the Funeral Hall. The memorial service was to be held in 3 days. Some fleets were farther from Aoshi's location on Julian Star, requiring more time to travel. On the way to the funeral hall, Lin Miaomiao expressed her inner doubts. "Aren't you going to the memorial service? Why are you going today?" Could it be that he was saying goodbye twice? It felt like he was just looking for trouble. Yunyan frowned and said, "Boss, this isn't a good idea. You're saying goodbye to Captain Luo now. What are you going to do at the memorial service? Should you tell him you'll say goodbye again?" This behavior seemed like a joke. Ugh, it was a joke. Yi Hongwen looked at them helplessly. "I didn't plan to say goodbye to him at the funeral hall today. I had something to check." "What is it?" Lin Miaomiao demanded. "I can't tell you yet," Yi Hongwen said with a serious expression. "You'll know after this is over." Lin Miaomiao was frustrated. Being mysterious only piqued her curiosity, didn't it? But she wasn't completely ignorant, so she didn't ask questions she shouldn't ask. The abilities of the Aoshi lieutenants were unquestionable. Captain Luo, who had passed away yesterday afternoon after failed attempts to save him, now lay peacefully on an ice bed, covered by a white sheet, revealing only his square, solemn face. Lin Miaomiao glanced at the body before looking away, as the 20-inch black and white portrait on the wall was far more striking. Captain Luo in the photo looked decades younger than the one on the bed, resembling a young man in his 20s or 30s. Yi Hongwen, along with Lin Miaomiao and Yunyan, approached the ice bed and bowed 3 times to Captain Luo. Without another word, he approached Zhou Changte, one of the Aoshi lieutenants, who stood nearby. "Captain Yi, thank you for visiting him," Zhou Changte said, his face pale and his voice so soft that it would be inaudible if one wasn't listening carefully. "Since we're here, it's my duty to visit him every day," Yi Hongwen replied indifferently. Even if they were not friends, as long as he was here, he could not stay out of it because of his status as a captain. Therefore, he would help find Aoshi's traitor. Yi Hongwen glanced at Lin Miaomiao and the others without leaving a trace. They did not follow him, but instead found a female soldier standing on the other side of the ice bed. The female soldier was an acquaintance. "The Federation is so small," Yunyan shook her head inside. "I thought Miss Ji would not be able to join the official fleet of the military, but I didn't expect to meet you here." "What do you think, Miaomiao?" Lin Miaomiao said with a wooden face. "I've been a bit unlucky lately. I meet people I don't like everywhere I go. Should I find a monk to exorcise the evil spirits?" "That's right, even after thousands of years, monks still exist in this era, but they make a living by exorcising evil spirits. They shave their heads but hold the jobs of Taoist priests because those ancient scriptures can no longer be found." "Go find him," Yunyan suggested. "I heard that Master Yingzhu, the abbot of Xianlin Temple, is the most powerful. How about sending him a video message and asking?" Lin Miaomiao shook her head. "Forget it. Master Yingzhu video calls constantly. Even if you get through, it's usually his disciples who answer. Just find any Xianlin Temple elder. They're just some insignificant piece of bad luck anyway." The two of them joined forces, driving Ji Ziyan, who stood erect before them, mad with rage. But she didn't dare explode. She was just a dispensable art soldier now, and she had no right to lose her temper. Miaomiao, Yin, we've been classmates for a few years after all. Even if we're not on the same class anymore, there's no need to make things so awkward when we meet. Yin forced a smile. Hey, don't talk nonsense. When did we ever embarrass you? We just saw some annoying flies and wanted to shoo them away. Yan glanced around casually and noticed the angry expressions on the faces of the male soldiers standing beside Yin. She knew what was going on, but pretended not to notice. Yan, Lin Miaomiao said disapprovingly, just ignore people you don't like. Talking too much is just nonsense. Yin gritted her teeth. Miaomiao, why do you always like to target me? Even if we can't be called friends, we can be called strangers who have nothing to do with each other. Lin Miaomiao said coldly, seeing you means trouble. After all, you want to kill me after an argument. You always have to be careful. You want to kill me after an argument. The male soldier next to Yin couldn't help but said, how is this possible? These two people must have bad intentions and want to frame Yin. Yin also cooperated, covering her face with her hands to plead for herself. I didn't. We were competing at that time. I accidentally hit her harder. It was not intentional. There was a sob in her words, and her slender body was shaking. She looked extremely pitiful. Soon someone stood up to speak up for her. You are from Shen Yu's people, right? The male soldier standing shoulder to shoulder with Yin stepped forward to protect her. Isn't it normal to lose control of your strength and hurt others during sparring? It's been so long, why bring it up again? Are you interested in her? Yan tilted her head and looked at the messenger of justice who jumped out. He had a square face, sword-like eyebrows and bright eyes. He looked quite handsome and a little familiar. It's a pity that he has poor eyesight. The male soldier blushed. You are the one with poor eyesight. Yin is gentle, kind and generous, and she is so beautiful. What's wrong with her? Luo is right. The other male soldiers nodded in agreement. They also thought Yin was good. No way, Yan was surprised. It seems that she is very good at pretending to be a good person. Do you know that Miss Ji was very arrogant in school before her spiritual realm was injured? Don't accuse me, Yin interrupted her anxiously. Yan, don't be like this. I know you don't like me, but this is Captain Luo's funeral hall. Please don't bother me now, okay? Please, Yan looked at her contemptuously. Stop pretending to be pitiful here. No matter how you pretend, you can't cover up your cruel heart. By the way, didn't you say that a murderer who assassinated Captain Luo has not been found yet? I don't think we need to look for him. Maybe it was you who did it. Yan's face turned pale in an instant. She opened her mouth to defend herself, but for some reason, the words couldn't come out. She gasped for breath and finally forced a sentence from between her teeth. You slandered me. Captain Luo was so good to me, how could I? Enough, Luo roared. This is my father's mourning hall. Stop spitting blood at me here. Yin is my girlfriend. It's impossible for her to do such a thing. After roaring, he turned to look at Zhou Changtai on the other side of the ice bed. Dad, I don't think they are sincere in coming to see their father, so please ask them to leave. Zhou Changtai did not listen, but looked at his son deeply. Your father died unjustly. He did not struggle before he died. The ship's doctor said that it was an acquaintance who did it, so everyone is a suspect until the matter is investigated clearly. Even his son's girlfriend is no exception. Chapter 592 Suspect. Luo was stunned. He didn't expect his father to say such a thing. Anyone close to him would be a suspect, even his girlfriend was no exception. How could it be possible? Dad, did you make a mistake? Luo's voice was a little erratic. Yin is very kind. How could she be a suspect? Zhou Changtai snorted and said, she went to the office building yesterday afternoon, just an hour before your dad had the accident, but the strange thing is that there was no surveillance record of her in the office building. Yin's face changed drastically. I just passed by there and didn't go in. Of course there is no surveillance record of me inside. Really? Zhou Changtai sneered. Passed by for half an hour, and then returned the same way? I remember that there are empty rooms and warehouses behind the office building. Yin was speechless. Of course, she couldn't say what she was doing there, so she sobbed with tears in her eyes. I really was just passing by. Kay and I were about to get married. How could I possibly murder his father, for more benefits? Yan said coldly. It is said that those who bribe traitors are very generous and take millions of credit points to buy their lives. Impossible. Ziyan is not short of money, Luo Ke blurted out. She buys clothes for tens of thousands of yuan each. How could she be bribed by money? The peach-eyed male soldier who spoke at the beginning also echoed. Ziyan's family is quite influential on me, Luo Lanstar. She often treats her teammates to expensive snacks. She must not be short of money. Not necessarily, Lin Miaomiao said with a wooden face. The Ji family is a big family in Mi Luolan, but she, Ji Ziyan, is not a direct eldest daughter. Her family is just an ordinary family with no worries about food and drink, and she is very vain. Her family simply does not have the capital for her to squander. How could it be? Luo Ke was shocked. Ziyan, what she said is not true, right? Ji Ziyan opened her mouth to deny it, but Yun Yan said first, don't deny it. How could a kind Miss Ji lie? You? Ji Ziyan looked at her hatefully, biting her lip and questioning, why do you have to go against me? I'm in Aoshi, not in Shenyu to get in your way. Luo Ke's heart sank. He looked at Ji Ziyan in disbelief. You really lied. Your family doesn't have so much pocket money to give you. Then where did you get the credit points to buy so many expensive cosmetics? Could it be that she was bribed to kill her father? We'll know if we investigate. Zhou Changte strode over, staring at Ji Ziyan with disgust. The fleet's allowance is fixed. Just see who transferred her credit points to her besides her parents. I really didn't enter the office building, and I didn't assassinate the captain, Ji Ziyan cried, but she didn't say where the money came from because she didn't dare to say it. But the more she didn't say it, the more suspicious everyone became. Luo Ke's face was grim. Catch her. She appeared outside the office building for no apparent reason, and she has so many credit points of unknown origin. She must have killed my father. It's not me. The money was given to me by my friends. It's not from unknown sources. Ji Ziyan didn't bother to pretend to be weak. I don't have the ability to kill people at all. I didn't know there are so many selfless friends nowadays who give you large sums of pocket money without asking for anything in return, Zhou Changte said indifferently. Why don't you introduce them to us? Ji Ziyan bit her lip and said nothing. She couldn't say who it was. If she said it, she wouldn't be able to stay here. But she couldn't help but say it. She couldn't bear the charge of murder. What should she do? I really didn't kill anyone. Please believe me. How dare I kill someone? Unfortunately, no one believed her. Even the people who had been standing with her just now stepped back silently, using their actions to distance themselves from her. Why, don't you usually talk and laugh with me? Aren't we friends? Ji Ziyan couldn't accept such a result. The young man with peach blossom eyes sighed. Ziyan, you should first explain where your huge amount of pocket money comes from. We can't believe you if you're being so secretive. Ji Ziyan opened her mouth. After her mental breakdown, the Ji family had given up on her, and her parents had even kicked her out. If she left Aoshi, she would have nowhere to go. She absolutely could not admit it. After all, they had no evidence to accuse her of murder, and she had no motive to kill. Let them investigate. Making up her mind, she pursed her lips and said, I didn't kill anyone. Believe it or not, you're too embarrassed to explain yourself, Luo Ke roared in frustration. He wanted to give her a chance to explain, but she refused to say anything, so he could only take it as her tacit agreement. At that moment, Luo Ke's hatred for the person before him was so intense that it nearly shattered his sanity. With bloodshot eyes, he raised his fist. You dare to harm my father? I'll make you pay with your life. Ache! Everyone exclaimed, rushing forward to stop him. Our country has its laws. Even if she's guilty, the death penalty can't be imposed. Don't get your hands dirty, even Zhou Changte said. Ache! You need to stay calm. We don't have definitive proof that she was responsible. Don't be foolish. But Luo Ke held his fist high, unwilling to let it go. He was now filled with fear. If he hadn't fallen in love with Ji Ziyan, his father wouldn't have known her. If she had truly murdered his father, he, too, bore the responsibility. The mere thought of this possibility sent a pang of pain through Luo Ke's heart. Just then, Zhou Changte's communicator chimed, and the shadowy figure of a handsome young man appeared before them. Uncle Tai, the results of the investigation you asked me to investigate are in. Who is it? Zhou Changte's heart sank. The handsome young man smiled wryly. The person who transferred the money to Ziyan can't be identified because he used an anonymous temporary account. What? A temporary account? Zhou Changte gritted his teeth. Ji Ziyan, what else do you have to say? The Federation did not support the use of anonymous temporary cards. Those authorized to use temporary cards were generally those with status, and ordinary people had no access to them. It must be her. Capture her and avenge the captain. The young man with peach blossom eyes immediately labeled Ji Ziyan a murderer and prepared to physically arrest her. Yi Hongwen's eyes flashed. Wasn't this man a little too impatient? He took action before Deputy Captain Zhou even gave the order to arrest her. After all, they were friends before. Not only him, but everyone else couldn't help but frown. Yun Yan even said, "Hey, you're too anxious. You've already jumped to the conclusion of arresting someone while we're still asking about the situation." The young man with peach blossom eyes paused and mechanically turned to look at Zhou Changte. He found that the other party was also looking at him coldly. He was shocked and explained nervously, "The captain treats me like his own son or nephew. I'm very sad about what happened to him." Luo Ke had now regained his sanity and nodded. Seeing this, he said, "Adi and I are like brothers. He's as sad as I am about my father's accident." Chapter 593 Who is the murderer? With Luo Ke saying this, the others naturally agreed. Even Zhou Changte softened his expression. "Ad, thank you so much for thinking of your uncle." Ad, the peach-eyed young man, waved his hand. "Uncle Zhou, you're too polite. This is what I should do. Ad and I are like brothers. His business is my business, brotherly love is wonderful." Lin Miaomiao sighed with a stone face. "I guess Captain Luo values you and your trust as well." Ad was stunned. The words sounded like a compliment, but the expression of the person giving the compliment was so strange that it almost sounded like irony. What alarmed him even more was that the word seemed to imply that he was trusted by Captain Luo. Yet, the doctor's conclusion was that Captain Luo was killed by someone he trusted. He had no other injuries, indicating a single blow, and there were no signs of a struggle at the scene. Was she doubting herself? Lin Miaomiao's words didn't really mean anything, and her expression was normal. But Adi didn't know her, so he inevitably overestimated it, and his expression became a little uncertain. Yi Hongwen looked at Adi thoughtfully. Was this a sign of guilt? Could he be related to Captain Luo's assassination? Taking his unusual behavior to heart, Yi Hongwen didn't want to stay here any longer. With a previous experience, he didn't want Lin Miaomiao to be targeted again, so he abruptly said, "Deputy Captain Zhou, since you have found the suspect, we will not disturb you anymore." Zhou Changte nodded randomly. "Captain Yi, take care. I have something else to do, so I won't see you off." "Miaomiao, let's go back," Yi Hongwen shouted as he walked out. "Okay," Lin Miaomiao responded, pulling Yun Yan to follow, but unexpectedly, Ji Ziyan suddenly rushed over and grabbed her sleeve. "You can't leave," Ji Ziyan said. Lin Miaomiao didn't ask why, but calmly said, "Let go. I want to go back." Ji Ziyan gritted her teeth. "You can't leave. You made me a suspect in the assassination, and now you want to run away. What does it have to do with us?" "It's your own behavior that's questionable," Yun Yan said, reaching out to slap her hand away. "Don't try to put all the blame on us. Let go." "No, I didn't kill anyone. You're the ones who framed me and got me into trouble," Ji Ziyan insisted. She was desperate in trying every possible means. Lin Miaomiao reached out and pried her fingers apart one by one. Yun Yan also cleverly helped, and the two of them pushed the sticky candy aside. "Whether you're the murderer or not, you should first explain why you passed by the office building and returned half an hour later," Lin Miaomiao sneered. "Why would you be passing by there when Captain Luo was in trouble?" Ji Ziyan dejected. Yes, that was the question she needed to explain. That was what Deputy Captain Song had asked, but she had no idea how to explain it. Yun Yan didn't actually believe that Ji Ziyan, a paper tiger, had the ability to kill Captain Luo. Seeing her current state, she suddenly felt a little pitiful. After a moment's hesitation, she advised, "If you're really wronged, just explain it clearly. Even if you've done something bad, it's better than killing someone. You don't know anything," Ji Ziyan said, tears welling up in her eyes. "I don't have a home anymore. If I tell the truth, Aoshi will definitely not tolerate me. What will I do in the future?" Lin Miaomiao asked coldly. "Do you think Aoshi will tolerate you if you don't say it?" Ji Ziyan was stunned. Yes, if she was convicted of the murderer, Aoshi would not tolerate her either. She would be sent to the Star Prison, never to be released. In just a few words, Ji Ziyan's thoughts were shaken. AD clenched his fists and said before she could speak again, "Don't listen to her excuses. If she wanted to tell the truth, she would have said it long ago. Why would she let it go now?" Jizayan wanted to speak, but AD rushed over and knocked her unconscious. "AD, what are you doing?" Luo Ke roared. "Why did you knock her out? Let her talk, you like her so much, I'm afraid you'll believe her excuses." "I must avenge Uncle Luo," AD said righteously. "I think we should send her to the military interrogation room." The military interrogation room is notorious. It is said that anyone who goes in will be skinned alive if not killed. They will not patiently persuade people to confess, but will directly use torture for interrogation. However, in order to send someone in, there must be certain evidence. If the result of the interrogation is that the suspect has not committed a crime, then the person who sent her in will be in trouble. As soon as AD said this, the faces of the people present changed. "Let's not send her to the interrogation room until the matter is clarified. Let's wait until it is confirmed," Zhou Changte said. He had already turned off the video. "But she has deceived us for so long, how could she confess her crime?" AD urged. "It's better to send her to the interrogation room." "I said you are an interesting person. You are in such a hurry to send her to the interrogation room. Are you going to torture her into confessing?" Lin Miaomiao interrupted suddenly. AD was speechless. He knew that he was too eager and would easily arouse suspicion, but he didn't want Jizayan to speak and clear her name. "What do you want to do?" Luo Ke pursed his lips. "Why don't you let her say it? I don't want to let the person who killed my father go, but I don't want to convict her too hastily." In the surveillance video, Jizayan did not enter the office building, so there was no way to prove that she was the murderer. If someone was sent to the interrogation room and it was found that the wrong person was sent, the person who sent her in would not end up well. "AD, what are you afraid of?" Song Changte suddenly asked. "Are you afraid that she will be cleared of the charges if she tells the truth? Or are you related to her disappearance for half an hour?" "No, I'm afraid that AK will be deceived by her." AD stuck to this reason. Luo Ke looked at him expressionlessly for a long time before saying, "I'm not stupid. It's my father who died. No matter how nice she says, she can't deceive me." "But, okay," Song Changte didn't want to continue this meaningless argument. "AK, you take her back to the dormitory and keep an eye on her. Notify us when she wakes up." "Okay, Dad." Luo Ke obediently picked up the unconscious Jizayan. "I'll go with you," AD suggested with his fists clenched. "It's better for two people to watch over it. There will be no danger." Luo Ke hesitated for a moment, shook his head decisively and refused. "Even if she wants to do something, it's useless. I'm already prepared." In the end, he took the person away alone and did not agree to AD's suggestion to go together. He felt that his friend was a little strange today, which made him think about it. Could it be that the real murderer was AD? This answer was terrible. Luo Ke did not want to think so, but he could not help but have doubts in his mind. So let it be. Wait until Jizayan's answer is asked. Anyway, the members of Aoshi are not allowed to go out these days, and he will find the real murderer sooner or later. I don't know who the murderer will be. Is it Jizayan, who has lived with him for several months? Or is it AD, who is as close to him as a brother? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 594 All Are Innocent. Luo Ke took Jizayan away. Lin Miaomiao, who was not stopped by anyone, also followed Yi Hongwen back to the Shenyu. However, she was still worried about the result and always wanted to know who the murderer was as soon as possible. However, she did not expect that in the next 2 days, Captain Yi would actually forbid her to go down the Shenyu because she had a physique that attracted disasters and would be easily injured if she encountered an accident. However, she still heard the result. Jizayan was not the murderer. She passed by the office building to take a shortcut to several vacant buildings of Aoshi. As for what she was doing there, she could only say that she found a big sponsor. The one who supported Jizayan was another deputy captain of Aoshi. He was of the same age as Captain Luo and had always been dissatisfied with his superiors. After discovering that Luo Ke was dating a new recruit and that the new recruit was very vain, he had a new idea. Although Luo Ke was young and impulsive, often engaging in rebellious behavior, He wasn't a bad person and was genuinely kind to his girlfriend. However, his upbringing was strict, and despite his family's well-off background, his two fathers limited his allowance, preventing Ji Ziyan from spending freely. This unaccustomed Ji Ziyan, known for her extravagant spending, was unaccustomed to it. With her parents' disregard for her, she had no other means of earning money. Then, Lieutenant Commander Jiang Qi arrived, offering her a large sum of credit points to support her. To avoid detection, they met at the abandoned training grounds of Aoshi. Jiang Qi's intentions weren't motivated by her beauty, she was intent on humiliating Captain Luo. She planned to wait for Luo K to marry her, then discreetly leak the details and humiliate him. However, Captain Luo was utterly stricken, killed in an assassination attempt in his quarters at the base. Before he could rejoice, his dirty deeds were exposed, earning him the disdain of everyone at Aoshi. It's not my fault, she seduced me. Jiang Qi's heart sank. How could things break out at this time? Captain Luo passed away, and it was time to choose a new captain. Song Changte was hit hard, and he probably couldn't take care of the position of captain during this period. The other deputy captain was a person who maintained the status quo. He could do practical things, but he couldn't manage the fleet. Jiang Qi was full of confidence, thinking that Aoshi would become his world, but he didn't expect that the matter of him supporting Ji Ziyan would break out at this time. Now all the members of the ship looked down on his character, and how could they agree to let him be the deputy captain? He wanted to shout, to defend himself, but no one listened to what he said. Tang Weiming, the most inconspicuous deputy captain of Aoshi, stood up and said, "You are not qualified to be a captain for keeping new recruits in the fleet." "I am not qualified, do you think you are?" Jiang Qi sneered. "It seems that I underestimated you at the beginning. Your hard-working, management savvy and lack of ambition are all fake. You are slandering me." Tang Weiming's face turned pale, as if he had been greatly insulted. The two deputy captains quarreled, but the last deputy captain, Song Changte, had no intention of mediating. He said with a stern face, "Enough, the captain is still lying in the morning hall. And you only have that position in your eyes." "I'm sorry, I'm just in a bad mood." "Captain Luo," Tang Weiming said embarrassedly. "Why are you spouting so much nonsense?" Jiang Qi snorted. "Captain Luo's gone. The captaincy will have to be decided sooner or later. If Lieutenant Song refuses to discuss it, then it's not too much for the two of us to discuss it, right?" Song Changte was furious. When Captain Luo was there, he got along well with the lieutenants Tang and Jiang. They discussed all matters of the fleet, big or small. He'd thought they were all on good terms, but he hadn't expected it to be all just a facade. "All right, you guys take your time to discuss it. I'm going to investigate the captain's murderer." Song Changte couldn't stand it any longer and turned to leave. But before leaving, he sneered and reminded, "Who gets that position isn't decided by you. It's the military." The appointment of a new captain was a big deal. If they chose from Aoshi's lieutenants, the military would investigate their personalities and management abilities. If they lacked character and skills, they wouldn't be able to advance. If there weren't any qualified candidates, the military wouldn't just promote one. It didn't matter if this fleet didn't have qualified candidates, someone from another fleet could just be parachuted in. Song Changte no longer had any ambitions for advancement. He'd given up the moment his partner became captain. Now, with Captain Luo's passing, he'd been devastated, and he hadn't considered challenging the position anymore. He hadn't expected Jiang Qi to do such a disgusting thing behind his back. How could he support such a hypocrite? As for Tang Weiming, he wasn't very optimistic either. He'd been acting like an honest man for decades, but he either lacked the ability or harbored ulterior motives. "We need the military to send someone over," Song Changte decided. He wasn't capable of managing this place, but he didn't want to leave Aoshi to those two men. Ji Ziyan was already confirmed not to be the murderer, and Peach Blossom Izadi was no longer a suspect. He'd been playing cards in the dormitory with several teammates at the time of the incident. While that violated ship regulations, he had an alibi. In the end, Adi and his poker buddies were given minor demerits, and no clues to Captain Luo's assassination were found. "He's actually innocent, so why is he so upset?" Yun Yan was puzzled. She thought the murderer was either Ji Ziyan or Adi, but she didn't expect both of them to be innocent. Lin Miaomiao slumped in her chair and yawned. "Why bother with so much? We're not the police." These past few days, she couldn't leave the ship and could only stay on the captain's ship to exercise. When she was tired or bored, she would browse the Star Network. However, She was not at home, so it was not convenient to buy things. It's just too boring. Lin Yin was also very depressed. She was also forbidden to leave the ship. The reason was that they were afraid that what they said in the morning hall would lead to retaliation, but in fact, it was to find Miaomiao a companion. Hey, you haven't answered me yet. Why is he so anxious? The boss was really selfish, wasn't he? He actually showed favoritism in broad daylight. Lin Miaomiao rolled her eyes at her. I'm not a worm in his stomach. How would I know the reason? Lin Yin acted disgusted. Miaomiao is so rude. Why do you bring up those disgusting things for no reason? Who told you to ask nonsense? Lin Miaomiao said coldly. I think that person would react like this, not because he is guilty, but because he knows who the murderer is and wants to cover up the murderer. I think so too. Lin Yan's eyes sparkled. We should check who in the fleet is related to him, or who he cares about the most. Let's tell the boss. Lin Miaomiao couldn't help but sigh. It's already this time. That person's information is probably on the desk of Deputy Captain Song. Lin Yin was embarrassed. Was her reaction ability so slow? Chapter 595 The Real Murderer. Just as Lin Miaomiao had said, Song Changtai already had detailed information on AD. It wasn't just the general description in the file, it listed everything he'd done since childhood, including being weaned at 2, wetting the bed at 7, and having his first girlfriend at 9. He'd looked through it repeatedly, but couldn't find anyone connected to Aoshi that AD cared about. The information indicated that AD's closest relationship within the fleet was with Luo K. Did I guess wrong? Song Changtai said, squeezing the communicator so hard it threatened to break. Chang, am I just too stupid to even find your killer? Dad, don't be like this. Luo K grabbed his hand. Relax, we have plenty of time to find the murderer. It had been a rough few days for Luo K. His father had been assassinated, and his girlfriend had betrayed him. Fortunately, AD was alright, otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to handle the double betrayal. No, we don't have time. Song Changtai gritted his teeth. Zhang Qi and Tang Weiming are already competing for the position of captain. If the result comes out, they won't care at all about how the former captain died. Luo K's face sank. Father didn't treat them badly when he was here. It's only been a few days, can't you wait? Song Changtai smiled bitterly. People are forgotten when they're gone, isn't it always like that? But they can't think of getting up too easily. I have submitted an application to the military, requesting an exchange with deputy ships from other fleets. Luo K jumped in shock. Dad, you're leaving Aoshi. What should I do? You've grown up. It's time to be independent. Song Changtai looked at him reluctantly. If you're always under the wings of your parents, you'll never learn to be on your own. Isn't this also your wish? After graduating from the military academy, Luo K didn't actually think about joining Aoshi. He didn't want to be restrained by his two fathers, but in the end he couldn't resist the majesty of Captain Luo, and reluctantly joined Aoshi. But now, his father is dead, and his dad wants to set him free, but he can't be happy. Please take me with you. I want to stay with you, Luo K requested. No, Song Changtai rejected the request outright. You have to stay here and help the replacement become captain. Help him find out the cause of your father's death. Luo K found it hard to understand his thoughts. Lieutenant Captain Zhang and Lieutenant Captain Tang didn't want to care about the cause of his father's death. Would the next lieutenant captain also care? Moreover, there was no telling what kind of lieutenant captain the military would replace him with. What if that person's character was even worse and he didn't take his father seriously? But Song Changtai had made up his mind and didn't give his son a chance to object. It's too late. Once the application is submitted, there's no chance to regret it. I don't have the ability to transfer you with me. Luo K kicked the table angrily and turned to walk out. I'm going to keep my father company. He must be very lonely there alone. The funeral would have to be kept for a few days to wait for the captains of other fleets to arrive. There would be no one in the funeral hall all the time. He found Song Changtai's thoughts hard to understand. Since he couldn't persuade him, he might as well go back to the funeral hall and sit for a while. After Luo K left, Song Changtai received a text message from Yu Hongwen. It only said one sentence, Zhang Yudi is Zhang Qi's illegitimate son. How could it be? There was no mention of this matter in the information. Song Changtai couldn't believe it. He looked through Audi's information again, but still nothing was wrong. He was a legitimate child. His father was named Zhang Zihu and had nothing to do with Zhang Qi. The information was so detailed. If he was really Zhang Qi's illegitimate son, Why hadn't he met Jiang Qi before joining the fleet? Song Changte replied with a text message, "Why can't the military find out their relationship? Jiang Yudi's father also has the surname Jiang and has no relationship with Jiang Qi. The two families are not on the same planet, not even in the same star field. Also, how did you know?" A few seconds later, Yi Hongwen's reply came in again, and it was just a short sentence, "Check his mother." As for why he thought of checking Jiang Yudi's mother, Yi Hongwen did not mention it. After receiving the reminder, Song Changte really sent a video message to ask someone to check the detailed information of AD's mother. Then there was another long wait, and this time the news was not received until late at night. Jiang Qi and AD's mother Li Taoho met on Shui Liangxing. At that time, they both had families. They fell in love at first sight and checked into a hotel the second time they met. Li Taoho came to Shui Liangxing with her husband to visit relatives. She went back after half a month and never came to Shui Liangxing again. It was after she returned home that Jiang Yudi found out she was pregnant. The most ridiculous thing was that Li Taoho's husband knew that their son was not his biological son because he had necrospermia and could not make his wife pregnant in this lifetime, but he did not mind. He also strictly forbade his wife to contact Jiang Qi again and not to disclose the news of the pregnancy, fearing that the child would be taken away. Jiang Zihua never set foot on Shui Liangxing again in the next 20 years. Li Taoho originally just wanted to secretly enjoy a fleeting romance, but after being discovered by her husband, she did not dare to contact Jiang Qi again, and the matter was concealed. If nothing unexpected had happened, Jiang Yu would never have known he wasn't his biological son. But when he was 20, Jiang Zihua went on a business trip to an alien planet. On his way back, the passenger ship he was on encountered interstellar pirates, and everyone on board was killed. Without Jiang Zihua's restraint, Li Taoho allowed her son to join Aoshi after graduating from college. At first, she kept the reason secret, but only after her son successfully entered Aoshi did she reveal his background. No wonder, Song Changte gritted his teeth. He'd been puzzled at the time. Jiang Qi, who always treated his soldiers equally, seemed to see Jiang Yu differently. Perhaps they had already recognized each other by then. I hope it's not what I think. How could a comrade who had been with him for decades, someone you could trust with your back, be the one who killed Chang? But he was ultimately disappointed. When he checked the surveillance footage, he discovered that Jiang Qi had been resting in the office building that afternoon. Then, after questioning the first group of people who arrived at the captain's office, he discovered that Jiang Qi had been the first to notice Luo Cheng was in trouble. If that were merely suspicions, unconfirmed, then on the morning of the pursuit meeting, Song Changte received a video from an unfamiliar number. It showed the events of the day Captain Luo's accident, and he burst into tears. That afternoon, Luo Cheng had a document to submit to military headquarters for expedited approval and had to arrange the handover of uniforms that afternoon. After lunch, he returned to the captain's room alone to work. At 1 o'clock, Jiang Qi knocked on the door and entered the captain's room, saying he had something to discuss. The two sat opposite each other on the sofa, drinking tea, but for a long time, they didn't get to the point. They chatted and laughed for about half an hour, drinking a lot of tea. Jiang Qi asked for an apple and began peeling it with a fruit knife from the coffee table. At that moment, Luo Cheng noticed he was wearing a pair of clear, moisturizing gloves and joked that he took care of his hands like a woman. Having drunk too much tea, Luo Cheng wanted to go to the bathroom, but as he passed Jiang Qi, the man eating the apple suddenly stood up. Chapter 596 Exposed. The captains attending the memorial service had been arriving one after another since the day before. Aoshi's landing platform was now filled with warships. Fortunately, it was built large, otherwise, even if only one ship from each fleet arrived, it wouldn't have been able to accommodate them. Of course, not every captain from each fleet came. Although military regulations mandated attendance, some who disagreed with Captain Luo found ample excuses for not coming, such as their wives and children being seriously ill or their parents having passed away. Lin Miaomiao could only sigh at these compelling excuses. People these days really love to follow trends, even dying in large groups. Yun Yan said sternly, "Excuses, they're all excuses. People like that are definitely not good people. Miaomiao, you should remember this for the boss. When they die, few will attend their funerals, so you don't have to join in the fun." Lin Miaomiao was stunned. Attending a funeral was a serious matter, How could it be considered just joining in the fun? However, before going to bed last night, she seemed to have heard that there would be something exciting going on at today's memorial service. Should she pester Captain Yi to take her? Before she could think of the result, Yi Hongwen offered to take her with him, and Yun Yan followed as a personal bodyguard. Bodyguard Yun was very unhappy. She was also a delicate girl, and when she came to the boss, she was ordered to be a bodyguard. But in order to watch the fun, she had no choice but to give in. The cheerful girl could sometimes be a bit petty. Even though the one who ordered her around was the icy, imposing boss, she decided to take a small revenge. She held Lin Miaomiao's hand tightly throughout the entire trip, euphemistically claiming, "Close protection is the safest." Yi Hongwen narrowed his eyes and stared at her for a long moment, finally saying coldly, "Remember to maintain your military demeanor when you're out there. Holding hands and arm in arm isn't what you want. Do you want to be put in solitary confinement?" Yun Yan was stunned. After hesitating for a long time, she finally managed to utter, "There's no dark room on the Shenyu? Then I'll keep it in the account," Yi Hongwen replied calmly. "Just 1 day's punishment this time. You can go directly to the base to claim it." "No," Yun Yan screamed. How could she have forgotten that the boss was always petty and didn't care about personal vendettas? After this lesson, Yun Yan behaved herself and didn't even dare to speak. She kept a distance of 30 centimeters from Lin Miaomiao. Upon entering the funeral hall, they found it already packed, with only a 1-meter-long passage left for those to walk to the ice bed and pay their respects. Lin Miaomiao and Yi Hongwen followed side by side, approaching the bed and bowing several times. After all the fleet captains had bowed before Captain Luo's body, the farewell ceremony began. Master of Ceremonies Tang Weiming began reciting Luo Cheng's life story, filled with praise. Even before the reading was complete, Song Changte and Luo Ke were already in tears, along with most of the Aoshi team members. Then came the farewells from family and friends. Luo Cheng's parents lived at Shuliangxing, but Mr. Luo had been paralyzed in an accident a few years ago. Upon hearing the news of her son's death, Mrs. Luo fainted and was hospitalized. She was somewhat confused upon waking. So Song Changte abandoned his plans to bring her over. Song Changte and Luo Ke didn't say much. They had gone over many things over the 3 days the funeral had been held, but now they were at a loss for words. Tang Weiming, the MC, grabbed the third chance to say goodbye. He exchanged a few words with Luo Cheng, and then it was Jiang Qi's turn. Unfortunately, just as Jiang Qi was about to speak, Song Changte stepped between him and the ice bed. "I have something to ask you." Jiang Qi was stunned. "What? Where were you when the captain was in trouble? Do you have an alibi? Why are you asking that?" Jiang Qi cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Did I already give you the answer to that? He had done something shady, and he couldn't bring himself to say it publicly." "The answer?" Song Changte sneered. "I don't want to hear about your romantic affairs. I just want to tell you that I know who the murderer is." "Impossible," Jiang Qi's denial blurted out without a second thought. It wasn't until he realized something was wrong that his heart raced. "Nothing is impossible. I'm not saying it now because I want to give the murderer a chance to come forward." Song Changte stared closely at Jiang Qi, fearing he might become desperate if exposed. Jiang Qi pursed his lips and fell silent. Asking him to confess voluntarily was out of the question. He had an alibi and didn't believe the murderer had been found. Could it be that Song Changte was trying to coax the truth out of him? After waiting for a long time, with no one stepping forward, Song Changte could no longer bear it. He sneered, "You're actually playing the coward. Jiang Qi, do you dare to take responsibility?" The funeral hall was in an uproar. Everyone had heard that the murderer hadn't been caught, but in this situation, could it be that Jiang Qi was the murderer? Jiang Qi remained calm. "Changte, I know you've been traumatized these past few days, and I did something wrong to Luo Ke, but that doesn't mean you can put the blame on me." "Bullshit. Your so-called evidence is really well made. You're using such a scandal to cover up your good deeds. You're really calculating," Luo Ke said excitedly. After Song Changte obtained the evidence, he showed him the video and revealed Jiang Yu's relationship with Jiang Qi. Luo Ke had a hot temper. If he was told the truth in the morning hall, his first reaction would definitely be to beat someone up, which would probably ruin the farewell ceremony. "I didn't do that. Captain Luo has always been very good to me. How could I hurt him?" Jiang Qi, of course, didn't dare to admit that he was the murderer, so he repeated this sentence with gritted teeth. Could it be a misunderstanding? The members of Aoshi's team murmured in a low voice. Although Deputy Captain Zhang was a bit serious, he was quite easy to talk to when he was not in training. How could anyone believe that such a person would assassinate the captain? Jiang Qi secretly breathed a sigh of relief. As long as someone stood on his side, he would have the confidence to refuse to admit it. But Song Changte didn't care. It doesn't matter if you don't admit it. I was going to show everyone a video anyway. Without even asking for their opinions, he simply opened the communicator and began playing. Jiang Qi was stunned when the virtual footage appeared. How could it be? Where did you get that? Didn't you say I wronged you? Song Changte chuckled coldly. Why? Are you anxious now? I don't know what you're talking about. How could you fabricate a video like this to frame me? Jiang Qi lunged forward, trying to turn it off. Turn it off right now. Don't try to smear my reputation. Luo Ke and Tang Weiming stopped him, pinning his hands behind his back. If it's not true, why are you so anxious? Zhang Yudi, standing nearby, tried to approach, but Luo Ke shouted, don't come over here, unless you want to fight me. Zhang Yudi gritted his teeth and stood still. The video continued to play. The morning hall was silent. Everyone stared intently at Jiang Qi peeling an apple. The fruit knife he held was the same weapon that had been lodged in Captain Luo's chest. Chapter 597 Dog Bite Dog. Song Changte and Luo Ke had watched the video so many times that their hearts were numb. They no longer felt any pain. They just stared blankly at the video as Jiang Qi plunged the fruit knife into Luo Chang's chest. Why? Luo Chang asked calmly. He didn't scream in panic, but simply reached for the communicator, trying to send a distress signal, but unfortunately, he failed. Don't waste your energy, Jiang Qi said with a strange smile. Your communicator has been locked. It can't receive any signal. Luo Chang released the communicator. Instead of trying to call for help, he asked again, why did you do this? I thought we were good brothers. You said good brothers? Pa, Jiang Qi said contemptuously. Even that idiot Tang Weiming didn't believe you when you said brother, let alone me. You're only a few years older than me, and we're both level 6 mecha masters. Why should I obey you forever? Even at this moment, Luo Chang remained calm. He said calmly, if you have the ability, you can climb up, but you have ambition without the ability, even without me. Jiang Qi's eyes instantly turned red. He clenched his fist and punched Luo Chang's door, but he didn't expect the other man to have the strength to dodge. Why are you hiding? We're good brothers, so what if I hit you a few times? Jiang Qi's face was grim. He raised his fist to chase after him, but his video chat rang. He glanced at the video feed, then squinted at the person slumped in the office chair, unable to move. I have to go out first. You're lucky you were able to die peacefully at the last moment. After Jiang Qi left, Luo Chang struggled to get up from the office chair, but fell heavily back down. The chair and the floor were covered in blood. He had no strength left, but his communicator had been tampered with, and he couldn't send a distress message. Changte, I'm sorry, Luo Chang finally smiled bitterly. I'm afraid I can't hold on any longer. The video ended here. The morning hall was so quiet that you could hear everyone breathing. Many hateful and resentful eyes were focused on Jiang Qi. The evidence is all laid out. Do you have anything else to say? Song Changte asked softly, but his eyes were burning with flames. Jiang Qi's face was pale. He didn't hear the question at all. He just muttered to himself, how could this happen? The surveillance was obviously replaced, so it's impossible to find it. By the way, this must have been forged by you. This is forged. At the end, his voice rose several degrees. You wanted to frame me and hired someone to forge it. I want someone to check the video. Wow, this guy is shameless, Yun Yan blurted out. He just said that the surveillance was replaced and it's impossible to find it. Doesn't this mean that such a thing really happened, and you still say that people want to frame you? He confessed himself. Lin Miaomiao concluded with a wooden face. Ridiculous and stupid. Yi Hongwen had a few more black lines on his forehead. These two people really know how to attract hatred. Just look at the look in Jiang Qi and Jiang Yu's eyes that seem to want to eat them up, and you know that they have successfully made new enemies for themselves. He regretted bringing these two along, even if he knew the matter had been thoroughly investigated. Jiang Qi, destined for the rest of his life in the Star Prison, wasn't a concern, but Jiang Yuhei, who hadn't played any part in this, still needed to be guarded against his retaliation. If Yi Hongwen hadn't been worried about her getting bored aboard the ship, he wouldn't have been so soft-hearted as to bring her along to witness the fun. As it turned out, Softness was a bad thing. Miaomiao, Union, both of you shut up. Captain Song will have his own say on these matters, it has nothing to do with us. Song Changte nodded at them. Don't worry, comrades. I have good ears and I certainly wouldn't have missed a word he said. But since he wants someone to verify the authenticity, let's do it. If someone could replace the surveillance footage, there would naturally be someone who could restore it. Besides the video, he received a message. The office building surveillance footage has been restored. He checked the surveillance footage, and it was indeed different from what he had seen last time. It was, in other words, the real footage. However, he didn't mention the restoration of the footage because Yankee didn't have the ability to replace it. He wanted to find the person who had helped him. With Song Changte's advice, Luo Ke quickly contacted the surveillance network technical department and had them send someone to verify the authenticity. Soon, several polite technicians arrived. After analyzing and verifying the video, they confidently replied, "This video isn't a fabricated video, it's real data." Jiang Qi couldn't accept this result. He shouted, "You called the people here, they'll definitely side with you." Song Changte had been waiting for this very sentence, and immediately sneered, "You can call your people, I definitely will," Jiang Qi said, dialing the video call. Once the call was connected, he excitedly shouted, "Come to the funeral hall immediately. I want to see your people within 10 minutes, or you can't stay in the fleet anymore." He knew full well that Song Changte was trying to expose his accomplices, but he didn't care. If he couldn't prove the video was fake, he was finished. He was finished. What right did his colluders have to stay in Aoshi? Less than 10 minutes later, a thin man appeared at the funeral hall entrance. He wasn't very old, and his appearance was quite ordinary. "Yushak, help me check it quickly, this video is fake, right?" Jiang Qi held his arm tightly, as if a drowning man picked up a piece of driftwood, and was reluctant to let go. "Don't worry, Deputy Captain Jiang, I'm here." Yusha looked up arrogantly. "Which video is it? Let me see." Song Changte cooperated and opened the video. As soon as he saw the beginning, Yusha's arrogant face turned pale in an instant. "Why is this video here? I clearly encrypted and hid it." "Hidden? You didn't destroy it?" Jiang Qi questioned. "Do you know what you are doing? Do you want to kill me?" Yusha was not afraid of him. "If I help you, I naturally have to hold something in my hand, otherwise what if you become the captain and throw me aside? For example, now, you know that this video can't be synthesized, but you still called me over, aren't you just trying to drag someone down with you?" He understood everything after seeing the video, so he didn't bother to cover it up. "You can't blame me for this. It's your fault for not doing a good job and not completely destroying the video. If I don't get what I deserve, then neither should you." The two men, who had once conspired to kill someone, were now in a state of disgrace. With their cover exposed, they tore off their disguises and started bickering in public. For outsiders like Lin Miaomiao, this dog-eat-dog drama was exciting, but for Song Changte and his son, it was a different story. These two disgraceful individuals had conspired to harm their loved ones, and they couldn't remain calm. Chapter 598, Brothers finally turn against each other. Jiang Qi and Yusha wrestled for a long time, their clothes becoming disheveled, but there was no bruise on their faces or bodies, which puzzled the onlookers. Are they just acting again? Their clothes are already messed up after fighting for so long. If they were given a bed, it would look like they were just rolling in the sheets, Yun Yan muttered softly. Because Yu Hongwen forbade them to say anything, she didn't dare to speak out loud, but just leaned close to Lin Miaomiao for approval. Lin Miaomiao nodded and also agreed quietly, "If I had put a hand on them, I would have bruises. These two are either acting or they are powerless. Anyone who can climb to the position of deputy captain must have high fighting skills." Luo Ke was getting impatient, and he was angry and wanted to vent. Seeing that the two people wrestling were just acting, he strode over, took out an iron rod from the space button, and hit the people on the ground with it. "Ah!" the two pretending men screamed, not caring about acting anymore, holding their heads, and began to avoid being beaten. "Luo Ke, what do you want to do?" Jiang Qi was angry and hateful. He knew Song Changte's temper. No matter how angry or furious he was, he would not take action. He would only hand them over to the military for punishment. And the reason why he and Yusha had to stage a farce of scuffling in front of people was purely to delay time and want to discuss a way to reduce the crime, although they knew it was difficult. "You killed my father, isn't it normal for me to beat you up to vent my anger?" Luo Ke said hatefully. with no intention of stopping the movement of his hands. "Stop, you want to beat me to death?" Yu Sha shouted. "I didn't kill anyone, you're committing a crime by beating me." Luo Ke sneered. "I'll kill you, and then I'll go to the star prison." "Okay." Zhang Qi lacked confidence, but still threatened loudly. "You dare, see if I dare." Luo Ke hit him with an iron rod. Zhang Qi and his partner were now in even greater trouble. They wanted to resist but had no weapons, and they couldn't hide, so they could only crawl towards the door. "Ake, don't do anything stupid," Song Changte shouted worriedly. "He'll get his comeuppance." "Don't dirty your hands." His partner had already passed away, and he absolutely couldn't afford to lose his son again. The evidence was there, and his enemy wouldn't have a good ending. Shrouded into his corner, Zhang Yu lost his temper. He had always known Zhang Qi's plan and had tried to stop it, but failed. Now that his biological father's murder was exposed, he would spend the rest of his life in the star prison. This was retribution for his evil deeds, and he didn't see it as wrong. However, since the father and son reunited, Zhang Qi had treated his illegitimate son well, giving him a generous allowance every month and helping him solve any problems. Now, seeing his biological father being beaten in front of him, he couldn't bear to watch. However, he wanted to stop it without revealing his relationship with Zhang Qi. If his identity was exposed, he would have no place in Aoshi. Zhang Yu pushed through the crowd and walked out, saying in a calm tone, "Ake, stop hitting them. The murderer who murdered Uncle Luo has been caught and handed over to the military for disposal. You will only hurt yourself if you do this." Luo Ke was startled and his movement slowed down by 3 points. The two people who were beaten took the opportunity to roll away from him and stand up. In this situation, he could no longer teach them a lesson, so he grabbed the iron rod and raised his head. "You stopped me from teaching them a lesson, are you trying to plead for them?" Luo Ke stared at his former brother expressionlessly. 2 days ago, when he interrogated Ji Ziyan at the funeral hall, this good brother was so impatient that he wanted to put the head of murderer on her head and wanted to send that woman to Xingaiu on the spot. At that time, he was very touched, thinking that his brother was worried about him. But today, after Luo Ke learned from his father about Zhang Yu's relationship with Zhang Qi, this brotherhood became a thing of the past. His eagerness to find a scapegoat for his biological father suggests Zhang Yu may know who murdered his father, or perhaps his close brother was involved in the murder. Whatever the answer, Luo Ke didn't care. From then on, he and Zhang Yu were no longer brothers, let alone strangers. Zhang Yu, unaware that his identity had long been exposed, dismissed Luo Ke's words as a grouch and dismissed them as irrelevant. "How could I possibly plead for the man who murdered my uncle? Don't forget, we were brothers. I just don't want to see you ruin your future." Even if a criminal is involved, the victim cannot resort to lynching, otherwise, the perpetrator will also be subject to criminal detention. This was Zhang Yu's reason for standing up. As long as the federal government had such a rule, everyone would assume he was speaking out for Luo Ke's benefit, never realizing his ulterior motives. However, he was destined to be humiliated. Luo Ke had never been a patient person. In the past, when he and Zhang Yudi were friends, he regarded him as a good brother with similar interests, so of course he would listen to his advice. But now it was different. "You're not afraid that I will destroy my own future, but that I will beat your biological father to death?" Luo Ke sneered. "If I beat him to death in front of you, then what future does your illegitimate son have?" The people attending the farewell ceremony in the morning hall were numb. What kind of day was it today? The deputy captain's conspiracy to murder the captain was exposed, and now the captain's son's good brother was the illegitimate son of the murderer. How could it be described as a mess? The chaos wasn't over yet, as Yun Yan, ever anxious for chaos, chimed in again. "Captain Luo is so pitiful. He was murdered by the deputy captain who was supporting his son's girlfriend. And the murderer's illegitimate son is his son's best friend." "Yan Yan, you're wrong." Lin Miaomiao shook her head in disapproval. "Captain Luo is gone. No matter how chaotic things are, it's none of his business. The truly pitiful person is his son. His best friend's biological father not only cheated on him, but also killed his own father." Yi Hongwen's face darkened. "What a mess. I brought you here to see Captain Luo off, not to see this shit, but we're standing here, and we can't help but watch." Lin Miaomiao and Yun Yan replied in unison. Everyone rubbed their foreheads. This was clearly a serious matter, the most melodramatic drama of the year, so why were there two antics? Captains of other fleets brought subordinates of either lieutenant's or captain rank, but Captain Yu is unconventional, bringing 2 female soldiers who were clearly not captains. Could they be his mistresses? The gossipy eyes kept scanning the 3 people. Yi Hongwen could no longer maintain his cold face, and said to Song Changte with a stiff face, "Deputy Captain Song, since you are busy, this ceremony probably can't go on. I'll take my leave first." Song Changte nodded tiredly. "Captain Yi, please forgive me. The funeral in the afternoon will still be held as scheduled." Yi Hongwen nodded and waved to Lin Miaomiao and the other 2 to leave. With his reminder, the other captains also realized that they should not stay here, and they all said goodbye. Chapter 599, Stalking for Midnight Snack. The afternoon's funeral was to be held at a funeral home. Yi Hongwen didn't plan to take her because of the dark and gloomy place, and since he had bad memories of it, she didn't insist. Yun Yan, on the other hand, was a little disappointed. She'd never been to a proper funeral before. When she was little, even when an elder passed away, they wouldn't let her go. She was curious about what a funeral home looked like. Lin Miaomiao rolled her eyes at her. "It's better not to go to such an unlucky place." "What's there to be curious about?" I've been there before," Yun Yan said with a silly smile. Renjiao said coldly, "If you want to go, I'll take you next time. Even if you want to stay in the morgue overnight, that's fine." Yun Yan's eyes widened and she shook her head. "No, thanks. I'm not going. There's really nothing to see at a funeral home, with nothing else to do that afternoon." Lin Miaomiao went back to the gym after her lunch break. By the time Yi Hongwen returned, it was already time for dinner. After dinner, the Shenyu set sail, bound for their next target. Having been delayed at Aoshi for 4 or 5 days, they needed to hurry. Fortunately, the fleets behind them were already well organized, and they completed the mission in less than 2 weeks. By then, the Shenyu wasn't far from their base. Upon returning to base, the crew members who had participated in the mission didn't get any rest, but instead plunged straight into training. Captain Yi had said, "This mission is like an interstellar tour. None of you have ever been tired, but training has been neglected. I hope you can catch up quickly in the next few days." Everyone groaned. Training right after returning, their boss was so cold and ruthless. Despite their complaints, they threw themselves into the intense training. After all, after such a long delay, they were afraid of falling too far behind their teammates, especially since they were new to the fleet. They couldn't afford to embarrass themselves. After the first night training back at the base, Lin Miaomiao was pulled by Liu Kanier to ask for extra food. "When you were not on the fleet, Ah Zin, Ah Chen and I were exhausted every day. We were severely malnourished and needed to make up for it. It's so late, it's too troublesome to make midnight snacks." Lin Miaomiao was not very happy. "Let's forget it, it's not late at all. Just cook some dumplings, fry some chicken wings, chicken legs, lotus shrimps or something like that. Is this all you can do?" Lin Miaomiao said grimly. "If you want to eat, why don't you order takeout? You have to wait for her to come back to cook. You deserve a beating, right?" Liu Kanier was not threatened at all. She lay on the ground and started to throw a tantrum. "Miaomiao doesn't love me anymore. She won't even let me eat dumplings. She must have found a new person." Lin Miaomiao was embarrassed. They were on the bridge in the middle of the lake, and there were many new recruits following behind. Was it really okay to be so shameless? What she didn't expect was that as soon as Liu Kanier lay down, the new recruits stopped and turned back, pretending they didn't see the old soldiers rolling on the ground in front of them. "Wow, what did you do to the new recruits? No one dared to come and watch?" Renjiao marveled. After hearing Liu Kanier's request for a midnight snack, she didn't rush back to the dormitory, but stood aside quietly to watch the fun. Of course, if Liu Kanier succeeded, she could also get a midnight snack. "We didn't do anything," Fang Licken thought they were innocent. "It's just that those male soldiers said that in the fleet, you not only have to be able to pilot mechas, but also be able to beat people with your bare hands." Renjiao understood. "And then you beat the new recruits?" No. Yuzixin shook his head repeatedly. "One meal is not enough. We beat them 3 times a day for 3 days. Lin Miaomiao. Dr. G is going to scold people again." Yun Yan shook her head and sighed. After beating them for 3 days, the weaker ones should have become frequent visitors to the infirmary. He didn't curse at anyone. Liu Kanier, lying on the ground, curled her lips. He's just bored. Every day, there are beautiful female soldiers visiting him in the infirmary, and he's so happy that his teeth are showing. It's time to change his name to Ji Selin, Lin Miaomiao suggested seriously. This time it was Liu Kaoyer's turn to be speechless. At this time, Bai Jin and Yu Hongbo walked over from behind, hand in hand, and were surprised to see Liu Kaoyer lying in the middle of the bridge. What's wrong with Kaoyer? Is she not feeling well? Why don't you send her to the infirmary? Lin Miaomiao answered with a dull face. She is not feeling well. She's craving food. A beating should make her better. As she said that, she actually stretched out her foot and kicked her several times with the tip of her toe. Liu Kaoyer's eyes widened instantly. Miaomiao, you're going too far. Ouch, I'm injured. A serious internal injury. I must replenish more nutrition. Caw caw caw. It seemed as if a flock of crows were flying over their heads. Could such a scoundrel really be their teammate? Okay, how about I make you a bowl of beef sliced noodles? Don't embarrass yourself here. Lin Miaomiao covered her face and walked forward. It was too embarrassing to have such a close friend. It would be better to go back to the dormitory early to cook noodles and send her away. Liu Kaoyer jumped up upon hearing the words and followed her happily. Feng Licken and others also followed silently upon seeing this. Even Yun Yan, Bai Jin and others refused to go back to the dormitory. With a long line of people following behind, Lin Miaomiao couldn't help but twitch the corners of her mouth again and again. Although the dormitory was big, it was very troublesome for Lolly to clean up if it got dirty. It would be better to go to the cafeteria. After all, there were several intelligent robots there to help. Thinking of this, Lin Miaomiao took everyone to the kitchen. Miaomiao, aren't you going to your dormitory? Liu Kaoyer was surprised. Idiot, Feng Licken tapped her head. It's all your fault, rolling around in the street begging for a midnight snack, and everyone heard it and joined in the fun. Liu Kaoyer looked back and her mouth dropped open. Aside from the teammates who rushed to the dormitories after training, the slower-moving veterans followed behind with shamefaced expressions. Even the braver new recruit stood outside the door, staring eagerly. Hiss, she gasped. That's going to have to be midnight snacks for hundreds of people. HMPH, Lin Miaomiao glared at her disdainfully. Are you going to ignore those 200 or 300 people outside? The veterans were eating their midnight snacks in the cafeteria, leaving the new recruits drooling outside. Who would dare to do something so resentful? Lin Miaomiao wouldn't dare. Shen Yuzhen had already arrived, greeting Lin Miaomiao respectfully. Good evening, Manager Lin. What can I do for you? Lin Miaomiao casually said. Slice 30 pounds of beef, and a few pounds of greens. Shen-san, mix some noodles. It should be enough for 400 people. I'm going to make knife-cut noodles. This year, they had recruited quite a number of new soldiers, almost 800. Shen Yu's population had suddenly increased several times. The veterans had been having a tough time intimidating the new recruits. Even if they could outmaneuver a large group, teaching so many people a lesson was exhausting. Given the veterans' ferocity, the number of new recruits who dared to gather outside the cafeteria wasn't that high, less than a third of the total population, but still around 200 or 300. Cooking supper for so many people, even just boiling water and adding seasoning, was a chore for Lin Miaomiao, and she glared at Liu Kaoyer fiercely. Chapter 600, New Recruits with Different Ideas. A foodie with a late-night snack in hand wouldn't be afraid of a few glares. They huddled over the chopping board, drooling as they stared at the boiling pot. Lin Miaomiao was stunned. Are you that greedy? It's just boiling water. That won't be the case soon, Liu Kaoyer replied with a smile. As long as you're happy, Lin Miaomiao said with a stern face as she began to prepare the soup. She washed over 20 pounds of pork ribs and prepared a pot of pork rib soup, which she would use for the noodle soup once the noodles were cooked. She cut the beef into large chunks, cooked it, and sliced it to serve as a topping for the noodles. The small greens were blanched and added directly to the bowls when the noodles were almost done. Since there were so many people wanting a late-night snack, one pot wouldn't be enough for everyone. Lin Miaomiao decided to work in batches. Once the water boiled, 2 robots would work together to cut the dough into the pot. Once the noodles were cooked, they were scooped into a large basin, where a 3rd robot would place them in bowls. Lin Miaomiao wasn't idle either. Lolly had gone back to her dorm earlier, and she was the one scooping the beef slices and adding the seasoning. Those who wanted a late-night snack lined up with noodles and went to the next table to get some pork rib soup. Liu Kaoyer, who had been throwing a tantrum and begging for a late-night snack, had originally taken the first seat, but Lin Miaomiao, realizing she was still in the cafeteria late at night because of this jerk, unceremoniously invited her to the back. Want a late-night snack? Sure, go last. Of course, Liu Kaier couldn't possibly be the last to eat, as the new recruits were still standing outside the cafeteria. Lin Miaomiao had forgotten to call them in first, and the veterans were secretly plotting, hoping the new recruits would think they were getting a late-night snack and leave. Admittedly, the new recruits were quite shy. Uninvited to the kitchen, they felt too embarrassed to come in. The more ambitious ones, unwilling to watch others eat, had already left in a huff. The rest were just foodies, hungry from training. "It smells so good," a round-faced female soldier took a deep breath. "I didn't expect that just a bowl of beef noodles would be so fragrant. It would be great if I could try it too. It must have sesame oil in it." "I can smell the fragrance of sesame." Another female soldier's eyes lit up. "I've been here for several days, and this is the first time I've seen a midnight snack in the kitchen, and it's knife-cut noodles." The tall and thin male soldier's Adam's apple moved. He looked at the kitchen reluctantly, but said with disdain, "Look at how greedy you are. Even your saliva is about to flow out. It's obvious that the veterans are having a special meal for midnight snacks tonight, and we have nothing to do with it. You're drooling," the round-faced female soldier said angrily with her hands on her hips. "If you're not greedy, then leave." "Why are you still staying here?" The tall and thin male soldier was speechless, and he snorted and turned away. Then his eyes lit up. "The captain and the deputy captain are here. Now they have caught us having a special meal. Let's see if these veterans dare to ignore us." The round-faced female soldier looked at him with disdain. It was customary for veterans to intimidate new recruits. If they had the ability, they should get their revenge on their own. What's the point of just relying on their superiors? The pretty female soldier next to them tugged at the round-faced female soldier's sleeve and said, "Ignore him. People like him don't work hard to improve themselves and save face, but only think of relying on others." Being bullied by his two female teammates, the tall and thin male soldier's face flushed red with anger. What made him most uncomfortable was that the other recruits also looked at him with contempt, which made him even more resentful of the veterans in the cafeteria. If they hadn't come here for a special meal, why would he be standing here curiously to watch the fun and then be excluded by everyone? When Yi Hongwen and others reached the cafeteria door, they saw this group of recruits with different expressions on their faces and frowned immediately. "What are you doing standing here? Didn't Miaomiao say that there would be extra meals tonight and anyone who wanted to eat could come in?" If these new recruits didn't come in, were they waiting for the veterans to bring the food to them? The tall, thin male soldier had no idea what Captain Yi was thinking. Seeing his frown and sullen expression, he assumed he was upset with the veterans and rushed to answer, "Captain, the seniors are having a late-night snack, and we're hungry, so we wanted to take advantage of the situation and smell the noodles." Liu Yifei rolled his eyes. "If you're craving something, just say so. What do you mean by smelling the noodles? People who don't know would think we, Shen Yu, are torturing the new recruits." The tall, thin male soldier's heart skipped a beat. Even if he was thinking that, he didn't dare say it out loud. He quickly explained, "How could it be? All right, everyone, go in." Gu Qingheng interrupted him. "Since Miaomiao has decided to have an extra meal, you won't be left out, really." The round-faced female soldier couldn't help but cheer when she heard that. Great, as a true foodie, she forgot to be polite to her superiors in the face of delicious food and rushed into the cafeteria. Gu Qingheng's mouth twitched. He seemed to see the shadow of Liu Kaier in this girl. Could she be another foodie? Hey, this female soldier and my aunt must have something in common. Liu Yifei also thought so. Yi Hongwen glanced at the idiot coldly and said coldly, "She is a good match for you." After saying that, he ignored the tall and thin male soldier who had just complained in disguise and walked in. Liu Yifei choked, and the others laughed with glee. The round-faced female soldier was already at the end of the line for food, and no one asked her to get out, as if it was normal for her to stand there. The new recruits who followed the officers in were relieved. What surprised the new recruits was that, except for Yi Hongwen, the deputy captains and team leaders all chose to queue up for food, and the veterans were content to line up in front, and no one gave them a seat. Liu Yifei wanted to cut in line, but the iron-faced cook ignored him, and with the captain staring at him, he could only return to the line in shame. Of course, since he'd left on his own, Luo Cheng and the others disagreed with him returning to his original position. "Just line up again after you've been out. I was only out for a moment, less than a minute ago, so just let me go back to my previous position," Liu Yifei said flatteringly. He had rushed in after the round-faced female soldier and had been standing behind her, but now it was Luo Cheng who stood there. Even good friends were unreliable in the face of delicious food, and he refused to let him go back. Ultimately, Liu Yifei took his place in front of the other recruits. Unaware of the strange rules of the Shenyu mess hall, the new recruits, fearing to offend their team leader, obediently let him take the front seat. Li Enho glanced back at the bewildered new recruits and sighed softly. In Shenyu, once you enter the mess hall, you must follow the rules. No matter how high your rank, you must queue, and you can't let others cut in line, or you'll be put in solitary confinement. If he hadn't experienced this on Energy Star, he wouldn't have adapted so well. Speaking of which, where's Yao Hong who came to Shenai with him? Li Enho looked at his teammates who were squatting in a row against the wall with noodles in their hands. After making sure that they didn't see his old friend, he knew that he probably went back to the dormitory and didn't know the news. He didn't bother to educate the new recruits who knew nothing, but opened the communicator and started sending text messages. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.